Ladies and gentlemen, to Iron Age Nights. How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I think I totally screwed up that. No, I didn't screw up the intro.
There we go.
Maybe I screwed up the intro. I totally botched the intro.
That's okay. That's on brand for us, right?
Yeah, no, it's totally on brand. Yo, what's going on? How is everybody doing tonight?
Good evening.
Oh,
Doing great.
tis is a good evening, as a good friend of mine used to say. And I would say, Kenny, that's not how you say it. He goes, tis is. Gotta love that high school humor, right?
Absolutely. My God.
Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to my fellow co-hosts and our awesome guest tonight, we got to say hi to the chat, because the chat's why we're here, sadly.
Hello, chat.
All right, we got James Esparza. James Esparza, he jumps in and he was the first to comment a while ago. He is here. Arangmar Virillion, also known as Black Knight, author of the Star Shatter series. He said he wished he could stay awake, but he's like 8 hours ahead of us. So it was time for him to go to bed. River Otter 85. Hello, how are you doing? Raul Nyanzi, what's going on? Swift Sword Rush is down in the chat. Wrangler, he's down there doing gifted memberships already. He just gifted 5 A Drink with Crazy memberships. Thank you so much. Silent Unseen, how are you doing? Kristen Colebrook. Calvin Gulata bringing the thought bots with him, and he's going to get banned with them too. Drake the Duelist is down there. He's afraid to say hail because he's afraid that, it might actually hail with the crazy weather we're getting. Stay Based is down there as well. JVP Music, what's going on, man? He was featured on the channel a little while ago. Kiko Mon is here as well. We got Tim Allen, Nikolai Paulwell, Chris M. The chat just jumped on me. What the hell? And Talking Pulp Press. He is here. Oh, and speaking of Talking Pulp Press, that would be Rob. He sent me a wonderful care package. So gonna get that stream set up sometime. It's gonna be awesome. So it's gonna be awesome. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great. Just running around like crazy.
Uh-huh.
I understand that. I understand the running around like crazy for sure, man. For sure.
Yep.
So, oh, good Lord. Too much to do, so little time.
For sure.
Little time.
Story of my life.
Yep. Tim Allen says, oh, Royce, I have 2 different meads with me tonight. Yes, my wife and I were going to pick up mead, and then that didn't happen. So he's been telling me, he's like, dude, you got to drink mead. I'm like, all right. The first mead I ever drank was a homemade mead, and it was so damn sweet. It was bad. So, well, let's start with Iron Age Media. Richard, how was your last week, good sir?
Just been grinding away on the site, trying to get the content for the next couple weeks prepped. Next week is Thanksgiving, and then the week after that I'm going on vacation. So I'm trying to get all the bumps smoothed out so that I can set things on autopilot and then disappear and, be completely out of radio contact when it all goes wrong. So
Maxi big the bumps are. Maxi big.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. And Mr. Daniel P. Riley, what's going on with you, man? How are you doing?
I'm exhausted, but I'm here. I've been running all day from when I woke up this morning. I ate my body weight in chicken wings about 2 hours ago.
There you go.
I didn't have a chance to eat all day long. So when I went to get dinner, I'm like, I just want a ton of hot.
Went the snake route, I see.
I've done it. You just Scooby and Shaggy that shit. I get it.
Exactly. My daughter's staring at me the whole time I'm eating. Like,
oh man. I say mine was the inverse. My lunch was like half eating everything because I was like rushing off to the studio immediately after.
Oh,
bite here,
God.
go, come back, bite, go.
Exactly.
That's pretty much my day job. That's what I just eat on the go. I just have food and I take a bite here and there and just as I go throughout the day. So, and with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest for Iron Age Nights number 5, Jake, and tell me if I say this wrong, Kalta?
It's Kalta, easy mistake.
Oh, it is Kalta. Oh, see, I overcorrected. Oh, I almost said it. I was like, no, if I say it that way, I'm going to be a scrub. From 365 Infantry. Good sir, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing about the best I can be, which is actually saying something, honestly. I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad to be on. And again, because I think I had talked with you, I think it was probably over Twitter or something, or I think it might actually been DMs. I just really love the format of this. So I'm really glad I'm here and to kind of enjoy that firsthand.
Good deal.
Yeah,
No, I'm glad to have you here. I'm surprised that people like this. It's just,
what? Who doesn't want to come on and just be utterly ridiculous with us for 3 hours?
Yeah, well, that's
Right.
true. I want to come on and be utterly ridiculous with us, so that does help.
Already here.
Kikomon for $2 to show me, show you, Kikomon. Yeah, he missed last week because he was hammered.
Nice.
A good reason to miss it.
That's not even a lie.
God.
I think he sent me a DM or something like a couple hours before the stream, and he's like, "I'm not gonna make it tonight." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "I'm already drunk."
No finer
The guy
reason.
drinks Jim Beam out of the bottle. Like, what do you expect?
Good God.
Oh, I know. It's fantastic, man.
Really.
So Jake, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on yourself? Talk to us about what you do, what you love, how you came to do it, and all those good things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the long story short is this: I am a filmmaker by trade. But I also started in composition of music. And over the course of years, and over the course of, shall we say, not having the best college experience, thanks to things that shall not be named in the year of our Lord 2020, and the knock-on
the virus
effect.
of mysterious origin.
Exactly. Basically my entire college experience got upended, and it wasn't until about last year that I hit like my wall of saying, look, I need something that is totally creatively fulfilling to me, and most importantly, I have total control over. Because I'm in the middle of editing my senior thesis, the big capstone project, because I shot a thriller over the course of a month or so. And filmmaking it's a great process. It's a terrifically collaborative process.
I was going to say corrupt, and I was like, sir, don't go that deep this quick. You got to ease into it, man. Just
you don't understand. I'm a Hollywood insider.
Don't give the chat don't give the chat any ammunition. They'll take it and run.
I understand. But the point is, it's a wonderful medium, and I love it dearly. And film is where I draw a lot of my inspiration from. I've studied the works of Kurosawa, Hitchcock, and so forth. But I wound up turning to prose as kind of the one place where I had complete control over the vision and over narrative and basically over everything. The only one who had the power to really change if something wasn't working, I was repeatedly being told, hey, I don't think this is reading quite well, is me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where 365 came into being. 365 Infantry started actually as a novel film premise. The original title was Renegade Riders, until I found out it was not only used by a spaghetti Western, but by an actual Western novel and at least 2 of those cheap paperback romance Western novels you see at like every used bookstore, because those things immediately, once they're read, they get thrown back into the ether.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but ultimately what it evolved into is the what I guess you describe as a digital magazine format that houses. It's under an umbrella title, but it focuses on a post-apocalyptic world, far-flung future. I think I accidentally did make it the 25th century. There's no Buck Rogers though, unfortunately. God, I wish though. But the long and short of it is, in the far-flung future, there is but one remaining hub of civilization in the world. There's been a giant, good old-fashioned mad situation based off of Cold War powers, because it's kind of a retro futurist piece. And this lone city, somewhere in the American Southwest, winds up being run by this sprawling computer network that slowly, as many sprawling computer networks do in science fiction, attains sentience.
Skynet. And you did Skynet.
Basically, I did Skynet, but with a perfectionism complex, because its whole
Skynet mixed with Ultron. Well, Ultron. Never mind. No, Ultron was not a perfectionist. Right. Never mind. My bad.
Right, because the name of the network is called the Artificially Controlled Ecosystem, short for ACEs, and shortened to ACEs. And essentially, what happens is, because it is programmed to perfect, it slowly starts spiraling out of control along that through line. And of course, hey, guess what's imperfect? Carbon-based life forms. Get rid of them all. Everyone's favorite. And so essentially the whole series is divided into two sides of types of stories. You have one set in this sprawling dystopia that deals in all your fun cyberpunk stuff, augmentations, kind of man machine, kind of living under this constant surveillance. And the other side is essentially Mad Max and heavy metal in a blender, where you've got this lone resistance out in the desert that essentially started as sort of just a general sort of policing the loosely congealed communities out in the wastelands, until basically all these settlements start getting attacked for no reason. And they decide, okay, that shit needs to stop. And they do it in, of course, the most insane way I could imagine, which is driving into battle with cars and motorcycles rigged with fucking laser guns. And that was one of the earliest things from the concept, was specifically with the cars, having these come out from underneath the chassis, and they're operated by a foot switch underneath the accelerator. So basically, the best way you go into battle is just slam the gas down and running full force at the enemy.
That's awesome. So he did Mad Max mixed with Terminator. I love it.
With plenty of Blade Runner in there too, because well, specifically because I write with a very noir tongue, I guess you could say. There's a lot of high style dialogue I gravitate towards. And so it's been this sort of perma fusion of, old school speculative fiction, raw pulp energy, because I try to keep the pace tight, and a sort of underlying experimentation, because I'm really open to just basically.
Sorry, I saw that.
Basically. No, of course. And I'll also address the elephant in the room, which is, you may have noticed on the thumbnail, that is the sight of a wolf riding a motorcycle. Now, obviously, a wolf, a motorcycle.
So I have to ask you this question. It's a very, very important question. It's a very awkward question.
Of course, Pop.
Are you a furry?
I am not, actually, and I'll tell you why.
And I'll tell you why.
The suits are too expensive?
Amongst other things, yeah.
I love how he's like, that's where I draw the line.
Exactly. Well, dude, I'm already sinking money into this as is, so I mean, I don't have that much spare cash. No, but my qualm with labeling it as furry, I've described it as anthro. I've described it as anthro. The reason why I kind of shy away from it being called furry is because the way I've always seen furries is sort of a weird dichotomy in terms of fiction. They're either really into just using it as an overlay to like the modern contemporary world. So you just use it as almost like a skin. You just slap it over whatever X story you have. Or you tend back towards Redwall and Watertown and the high fantasy sort of thing. And 365 isn't any of that. It's pulling specifically from essentially the vast majority of like mid 20th century entertainment. It's the aesthetics are this mix of Western and punk and metal. The musical background is not just metal, but it's also got a lot of, I've been listening to a lot of electronica, like literally library music from catalogs like KPM and Bruton. And it's because I want to create something that feels, even though the presentation yet isn't like it's out of that period of like the 80s. I want it to feel old school, just in a general sense. And I feel like I'm getting warmer. I dare say I'm getting warmer with it. And the other reason why I chose Wolves specifically is because I had a sort of, I will say it's a very specific aesthetic fixation, but it's almost more like a power fantasy image, because I'm thinking the wolf to me as a symbol, as far as iconography goes, there's savagery, there's nobility, there's a lot to that, you know, as far as character goes. And pairing it, you know, with these machines, with this sort of total look of denim and leather, to quote Saxon, you know, it just hit me. Like I looked at it and I'm like, that looks right. I don't care what anyone says, that looks right.
You know, you
I've stumped him. I've stumped him, folks.
No, you didn't stump me. It just for lack of a better term, you pretty much described me. The denim and leather. So no, it's there, and there's a lot of stuff here, but Iron Age Media, Richard, he actually saw the leather jacket like the first time he was on screen with me. Yeah. And that thing's from the 80s. It's older than I am. Hey, my dad wouldn't give me the newer one. He gave me the old one that was beat up, but whatever. But no, boots, denim, black shirts, and leather jackets. My wife used to call me her knight in shining leather because I always wore my biker leather jacket and my biker boots. Right. And then as things went on, the shut up, Blacklist Universe. And it's not Bud Light, it's Dorothy's New World Lager. Why does he always show up and do that? He always goes up and does that.
Love it.
But no, you said that and I was just like, all right, you got my attention. You basically just threw out like my three favorite things there. Wolves, denim, leather jackets. Let's go.
Yeah, no, and plus I do have mine hanging on the chair back.
Oh, there you go.
Too. Do I need to go get mine? You want to rock the leather jackets? I'll do it. I don't care. I'll go get mine.
I have my leather trench.
All right, fuck it.
I'll entertain the people with.
There we go. I was gonna say I recently finally got mine out because it got below 50 for like the first time all year in Houston, which is like a real disturbing event down here. So.
Yeah,
to be fair, it was like 80 the day before, so it was kind of a swing.
Right, but I just narrowly escaped the giant storm that was hitting Buffalo up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
No joke. It was west of us and it was north of us, but it never hit us, which is just absolutely nuts for me to think about, because I've been a lifelong New Yorker, not New York City, but New York State. So I'm like, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. As far as winter goes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's I've never really gotten into I've never lived somewhere with like properly harsh winters, but down in Houston, there's like nothing
right
at all. But
I live
jacket
in
moved.
the tri-state.
The first two
there
places
we go. There we go.
I'm not getting mine out.
Well, Well, fine.
Mine's out, but it's downstairs, and I don't want to deal with.
I thought mine was out
dogs.
or in the coat closet, and it was not.
Right.
Mine's up in my closet, and I don't feel like getting it. I'm already warm enough. But I don't know if you guys will be able to see it or not. But
aside from the are we talking about C3PO or
no? We're talking about the wolves on the.
Oh, the wolves! There we go.
Yep,
Now I can see it.
See them.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
I was just distracted by the shiny object.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
And you can't really see them, but my newly acquired Kodamas are above my head.
Hey, very nice.
Oh, my wife is actually doing a little. My wife takes animal bones and does artwork with them, so it's awesome. But she actually is doing a little. She did a little like Kodama habitat with. What did she had? She had like possum paws and stuff like it was really cool actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
She
sent me the link.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing a lot of good work with that. So I'm very I'm super proud of her. She's so much more creative than I am. Kikomon says I'm hammered now, but I can stay up. For $2,
gentlemen.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Kikomon. So so I like that you basically decided that when the world shut down, you were like, I'm not going to sit on my hands anymore. I got to do something. Because I felt the same way during that time period, but I was I was really busy with work, and work was a roller coaster ride at that point in time. So,
and your home with my ex-girlfriend.
Huh?
Oh Lord.
Oh no.
I was literally locked down with my ex-girlfriend.
Ooh.
Have fun with that.
Yeah. And I wrote my first novel during that period. Thank you.
Oh.
Hey, nice.
Well, there you go. So
COVID story.
As COVID story. That needs to be like an anthology book series.
Like dramatized tales.
Dramatized
insanity. Yeah,
and all they have to do is read the New York Times during that time, and it's just it. As long anyway,
a bad idea.
Right.
Well, before I get nuked off of YouTube, let's promptly move away from that subject.
All right, as you were, sir.
Well, I mean, I left to go get a jacket, so because I'm an idiot like that.
Well, I was going to ask Jake. So far, you've been doing like, how have you been distributing this, and do you have any plans on changing how 365 is available for people who are interested in it?
So this is going to be kind of interesting too, because I kind of have a bit of a philosophy about 365, and it's this. At the end of the day, the series is broken up into 5 different, I guess you'd call them series within the overarching series. And I actually got some notes so I can kind of keep things straight in my head.
He's being professional on this stream, guys. I don't know how.
God, I'm trying.
I was gonna say, boy, good luck with that.
Yeah, just
I know.
That's
don't listen to them.
So the five branches are essentially these: the war, which is the main arc, which focuses on the Resistance's fight against all of the positively bizarre things being thrown their way, as there's sort of this is there, isn't there, overly fantastic kind of feel to a lot of the nemesis I create in the war, where it feels like, okay, how much of this is bordering on magic, or how much of this is like Arthur C. Clarke's definition of magic. I believe he was the one who had the quote, where it's like, science that's indiscernible from magic. And it centers on one of my leads in the war, which is this character by the name of Gibson, who is a not so subtle send up to Walter B. Gibson. I accidentally paired him with, no joke, get this, a Vincent Black Shadow. That was not intentional, but I ran with it anyway. Anywho, Second series is The Hunt, which is the second serial, and it's this kind of.
Do people know what the Vincent Black chat? Do you know what the Vincent Black Shadow is? Let's see if chat knows.
Let's see.
Do they know?
Sorry, not a lot of people know.
I've run into that many times. I'm a walking encyclopedia. My bad.
I am also a walking encyclopedia, but not half as smart as you, so I'm only half an encyclopedia.
I'm like the Atlas, you're like the Britannica.
Sir, you're giving way too much credit to me. Way too much.
I was waiting for that.
I was gonna say. I'm like a pop-up book. I'm like a kid's pop-up book. I give you just enough information to be dangerous.
Okay, fair enough.
He's the children's encyclopedia.
It's great. It's
all
great.
Right. I'll blast through this before I get derailed any further, because this gets to my wider point. Shoot. All right. Second serial is The Hunt, which is this sort of focus on this sort of small team of, I guess you'd call them civilians in the wasteland that are all kind of tied together by this very strange psychological torture scheme house in a coliseum. It's very lots of Romanesque imagery throughout the piece, because there is a sort of concurrent thing I was doing with this, where I was pulling a lot from history of that just general ancient history, but specifically history in that region. So it's kind of part of the look and feel of that particular series. And the next two series are all episodic, so you can really read them in any order until I okay, finale time, build that up to a finale, build that up to the finale. And the first one is Urban Avenger, which is about essentially the lone vigilante in the city known as Haven, who I basically describe as Charles Bronson and Pam Grier in a blender. She is one.
As a rope. Sorry.
Yep. She is one of my favorite characters to write for, because I just get to write the strangest shit for her to get into. And I just love the conceit of her. I love the look and feel, because I often the tagline I give to people is looks like a hippie, drives like a maniac, shoots like a sniper. I mean, I literally gave her the Wildy Hunter from Death Wish 3. Like the freaking giant hand cannon. That's like,
nice.
Process, like, it's, oh my. Sometimes literally I'll just sit and read the stories while I'm editing it. I'm like, did I really write that? And then I'm like, yes, I did. Keep going.
Happens all the time.
Right. And then,
you know what I love though is you're using this wealth of knowledge that you have, but you're just letting your imagination just go ham with it. And that's awesome. I love that.
Agreed.
Honestly, thank you, because it's the only way I know how to create. It's the fusionary thing that happens, where it's like images and ideas and storylines just kind of glom onto one another, to where I get this smorgasbord that I have to sit and mold into a very tight 4,000 to 5,000 word story, And it's a good thing I'm doing this as a quarterly schedule, which gets into the whole release thing. But fourth series is the Speed Freak Files, which is even more gonzo, and I'd say is the grindhouse of the pick, because it centers on this. There's this organization in the Wastelands called Hell Patrol that's essentially the only branch of law enforcement, and they're the ones that do the old school, Western lawman thing of apprehending criminals. And it focuses specifically on a character by the name of Nick Ridgefield and his bandmates, because they're in and I'm very shameless about this, if people know the title, they're in a band called Metropolis, which is a not so subtle reference once again to Motorhead. Anywho. And essentially their whole conceit is they wind up having to apprehend these violent, deranged, hedonistic criminals, and they always do it in these most outrageous and bloody ways. And these are some of I never call them throwaway stories, but they're the kind of stories where I'm like, if I need to just let loose, I'll write one of these and just not worry too hard about logic until I get to editing. And I'll just write total off the wall stuff for these characters too. Yeah, and then the 5th series is Tales from the Front Lines, which is just the Gambit running anthology where I get to pick and choose stories from either the wastelands or the city streets and just tell them from a first-person perspective, so people get kind of a ground's eye view of what it's like living in these situations and scenarios, and also getting a taste of the kind of adventure other characters get up to outside of the main roster. So I've got these 5 branches, and my core tenet has always been this. These 5 branches will always be free to read on the website. That is the promise, you know.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. So in 5 years, when he monetizes that crap,
that's the big.
Get your pitchforks here.
I know. That's the big thing, though, because what I'm doing is I am working on rolling out a paid subscription service, but none of the 5 series are being paywalled by it. The paid subscription covers more exclusives, more serials. And essentially what I'm doing is giving myself way too much work than I probably could handle.
Hey guys, do you have any idea the feeling he's talking about right now? I can't.
You know, at least you're.
I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah, too much work.
I've never heard of this thing at all.
I
know.
Ignore the dark circles under my eyes.
Yeah.
Well,
I meant to do the thumbnail for you 3 days ago. And I got home tonight and I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
And then I just hit well, I was talking with Richard over Discord. I'm like, I'll save you guys the trouble. Bam. Graphic. Go with God.
And you did, and I was like, this man knows.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, absolutely. But yeah, so my big thing with monetizing this series is through the paid exclusives, which I'm working on getting that rolled out. And that was before the show. And I'll also mention this because I have been mentioning it in my, as you can see on the website, Red Light Bites, which is my newsletter section. I've been working on a audiobook drama series called Alan Firedale, Desert Delinquent. That is essentially, it's best described as like a Jerry Anderson show. So Stingray, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, mixed with Knight Rider and absolutely off the goddamn wall. As many things are, it's almost like you pitch it as like, what if I tell people this shit's too weird and then they get underwhelmed? And I'm like, man, don't worry about it.
See, you can't. You literally can't. Doing anything creative at all, that will kill you. That will never, like, ever, like. And I love that. I love that you just have that attitude, dude. That is so awesome. That, because I have experienced that in my life, and even still, like, not even remotely close to as creative as what you're doing, but the YouTube channel, same way. I'm like, was that rant good? Did I do that okay? Right. You know what? Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. and you could. I mean, I also walked that mile before I had released this, because I was in the lead up to this, because I was start talking film turns. I was pre-producing this since August of 21. I had started writing some of the earliest stories around that time, including one of the ones that made it into the first quarter, and Address from the General, which was I really like that as a character piece for Knox, which is the general of the so-called 365th Infantry, I should say the proper title. But there was this absolutely bananas moment I had with it was my come to Jesus moment when I was working on this project, where it was probably around April or so. Do you guys remember earlier in the year, DreamWorks dropped a film called The Bad Guys? It was based off of a children's book series, I believe.
Vaguely.
That one slipped me.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
I remember seeing.
I have children, so I've heard of it, and that is it.
Right.
As in The Bad Guy. That's what I've heard. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So I saw the trailer floating around Twitter and stuff, and I was like, I was just kind of, doing the whole scrolling thing. I had 5 seconds to kill. And all of a sudden, I'm watching this trailer. And I believe it's Sam Rockwell who plays lead in it. He plays, and I'm literally, I shit you not, this is what happened to me. I find out that Sam Rockwell plays in this film a gray wolf in like a Don Johnson-esque white suit, driving a fucking Camaro.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They're doing this for the kids. Oh no. I literally had the I'm ruined moment before I even published anything. So I walked that mile before this project. I was incredibly self-conscious of it. I was self-conscious of the fact that I was doing it through doing the outro thing, because I know it's got a lot of baggage with it on the internet. I had a lot.
Well,
of
it does now, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a lot.
But
of
if
baggage.
you go back to like Redwall and things like that, it's
for
not
sure.
at all.
And I mean, Richard Adams is one of my favorite authors, and so I love Watered Down, Plague Dogs, and I love Martin Rosen's adaptations of them. I think, and I'll say this, here's my definitive statement. I think The Plague Dogs is the best animated film ever made on the planet.
Okay, I have not seen it, so I cannot comment on that movie. But I would no, I go back and forth between two of them. And one is actually a trilogy, but the first one, Treasure Planet,
respectable.
And my second pick, and I don't know why I love these movies the way that I do, but man, I could watch these movies all day. The How to Train Your Dragon movies.
Also respectable. Respectable.
I especially that second one when his dad gets taken out. I'm just like, oh
yeah, it's raw.
Like that was, I saw that and I was like, this is a kid's movie. I'm like, holy crap.
That's the funny thing about The Plague Dogs. It's definitely not made for kids. I think it was one of the earliest animated films to get a PG-13, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was that, and then Rock and Rule in '83 that got the PG-13. Yeah, so
especially a lot of them old school animated ones that they
there was no going back after Bakshi. There was just no going back.
No. Really quickly here, because I need to catch up for just a minute, guys. Rams has missed a couple of live streams. Good to see y'all again. Ram, how are you doing? Yeah, you have been gone for quite a while, good sir. Hopefully you enjoy the show this evening. JVP Music down there as well. So many Iron Age creators are making post-apocalyptic stories. I think it's symbolic. It's symbolic that to us, the entertainment apocalypse has come and gone, and we're in the post of that. Time to build. Love it. I never thought about that.
I definitely say there's some truth to that for sure.
That's an interesting concept, that we are in the post-apocalypse of some sort of entertainment. Ooh.
Well, I think the general idea though is we're kind of in the aftermath of just seeing almost all of the old institutions crumble as far as entertainment is concerned. That's another thing I try to do with this series. I have my own politics as anyone else. I have my own beliefs, views, feelings, etc. But one of the things that I've always kind of held, not in contempt, it's more of a kind of a frustration, is how hyper politicized the creation of alternatives has become. Like how you look at a lot of alternative social media platforms and they just turn into echo chambers. And not saying that, it's not saying that the people should be deprived of the platform to speak, but the fact that because these are being designed with those express purposes in mind, that's all they basically cut themselves off from any potential growth or expansion. And I see that in the entertainment sphere all the time. And it's never something as obvious as somebody like, I'm making Maced Man, the anti-woke comic.
I don't know if that's actually right on par with some things. Some people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, sure.
Yeah.
No, it's like
it's funny when people do it in parody,
right.
but like when they're like, no, I'm dead serious about this, you're like, what?
Your jaw kind of hits the floor after a while, don't it?
Well,
yeah, it does.
I mean, I'm definitely very right wing, but it's one of these things where it's like, I can't remember. I bought one children's book because I was trying to support somebody, and I also wanted some children's books. But it was like, oh, there's all this politics in children's books. That's not appropriate. Like, like left wing politics and like topics that just have children have no business learning about. And so like the response to that was like a right wing version of that with also politics that it's like, I don't, what I mean? Like, okay, you can talk about like responsibility or something, but it's, like you could kind of bake these things in, but it was like, everything was just like a cudgel. And it was really not what I was looking for. I'm like, I want you to at least put, the thing that I don't like about a lot of the legacy media stuff is that it's right on top. They doll up the ideology or the message, as Critical Drinker says, and they slather it over everything, and they don't even worry about whether there's anything underneath it. There's good bones to the story or whatever, but it's like top to bottom, it's just the message, And so the response to that isn't to, do the same thing for a different set of politics. It's to, replace that under, like replace the skeleton, if you will, like the worldviews that things are predicated on, and then let things grow organically out of that, not try and slap it on top,
superimpose stuff like that. Of course.
Yeah.
And I've had this kind of, I think we've talked a little bit about this, and I'm about to say something that's going to make Royce's night. I've been sitting on a lot of children's media ideas.
Yeah. Sir, have you heard my rants?
I have.
I'm sorry. Someone who hasn't yet.
That's okay. No.
There's a lot of people who haven't.
Well. Also,
they should be watching this channel,
right? Well, it's also because I look to a lot of children's properties in the past. Well, really, I should almost say that's the big difference firsthand. Well, first off, is that they were never really children's properties early. There's a lot of really just made for the family. Like I mentioned, Jerry Anderson, his productions were essentially handcrafted to appeal to the entire family unit. You had, the boys who obviously were interested in the hardware and the explosions and the daring do heroes, like the Tracy family or like Captain Scarlet. Girls could actually find role models to look up to, like characters like Lady Penelope and Thunderbirds, or the Angels and, Captain Scarlet. And adults were actually treated to shows of exceptional production value, well-crafted miniatures, beautiful scores by Barry Gray, and incredibly tight scripts. Like a good example, and this is a story I've been telling to almost everyone who can hear.
Blacklist Universe, I'm not ignoring Kikomon. I'm giving my guest some time. Okay.
Backseat streaming.
But guys, okay, so this is what he's talking about, guys. So just so you all, and I apologize, but Kikomon for $100 says, with a vote, Richard, Daniel, and Jake, should Royce read the following in a serious tone? Oh God, I hate you.
I don't even know what he's gonna say, and I think yes.
Oh God, I hate you. Kikomon approves this message.
Yeah, fuck it. Go for it.
I hate you all so much. Never tell the internet not to do anything. No, Gary Button. Yeah, I got everybody on Night's Watch to do, because Gary from Friday Night Tights, he presses the button and does the clapping. So I literally got it. It was great. All right, I hate this. I am the #1 Iron Age guy. It's gonna get clipped. Kikomon approves this message. Made the soy wave lift us all. Woo!
Don't worry, I have secondhand embarrassment.
I'm so glad. But I will say this one from Kikomon for $10 says, happy birthday, Neutron Boar. Hail, Richard, Daniel, and Jay.
Birthday.
And
Hail.
Neutron Boar is actually the artist. I didn't read it wrong, Blacklist Universe. No. And Neutron Boar is actually the artist for the Star Shatter series for Black Knight. Right. So
correct.
They've been doing a lot of crazy work over there, and it is his birthday. And I said that I would give him a shout out as long as somebody reminded me, and somebody reminded me. Thank God. Thank you, Kiko-mon. I appreciate you, man, for all of the absolutely insane support that you are giving the channel. Really quick, one more.
Happy birthday, Neutron Bear.
Yes, happy
birthday indeed.
Happy birthday.
Isidro Lopez Irwin. He changed his name. He just says Isidro LE. He doesn't want me to say his whole name. I don't know why. But he says, "Hail, friends, fix bayonets. Show me, show you. Florida man." All right. Sorry, I do have to find some version of keeping up with the super chats.
No, I understand it entirely.
Now I'm just imagining a Florida man version of that Kiko-mon video.
Oh my gosh.
He's holding up like alligators and shit. Like birthing alligators and just like
wrestling an alligator in a G-string. I can see it now.
God. You know,
there's a mental
here's the thing. You say that, but have you ever been to floridaman.com?
No.
I am not
wonderful.
Oh my God. Have you both never been to floridaman.com?
No.
So
we need to have an internet. We'll have a weird internet night one of these days.
You know what? We should do that with the cigar stream.
Honestly, that might be.
I've got some other Japanese commercials that I think you guys really need to see. So,
no.
Richard bringing the tentacles out for this one.
No, this is
no.
long man.
What the hell happened to a Drink with Crazy's channel? Well, you know, the algorithm told him that he needed to talk about tentacles for some reason. I don't know.
All right. I'll try go back to the two pins I have, which is one, getting people to give me money, but the first one is the Thunderbird story. All right. So the long and short of it is this: I really do enjoy the show, and I do enjoy it unironically. Like I'm sitting there, thinking to myself, look, if half my generation, because fair warning for those who don't know, I'm 21. Plot twist.
That is
drinking age, which is important for this channel.
Utterly terrifying.
Yes.
No. And I say
it's
that
frightening to think about.
And I say that not because you're young. I say that
younger.
because the amount of knowledge that you have acquired just with film. Two, the introspective way that you come to it. I mean, you're not old like Blacklist Universe, so that's awesome. Had to get that.
There we go.
And three, you're very, very well spoken. And that is not something indicative of many young people today. I would say this, that you remind me of my nephew, who's not much younger than you. He's almost 19 now. But he's very, very similar, and that's a very big compliment for me. Is like,
thank you.
I thought you were closer to my age, closer to 30. I was wrong. I'm getting to be an old. Well, no, but just you don't meet people who talk the way that you talk.
Here.
No,
I know. No. Blacklist Universe is here. He's down there.
Hey.
He's down there.
No. I get that entirely, especially because I've always made this joke, with people, would be like, oh my God, you're so young. Well, it's all right. I'm like 80 inside. It all evens out at the end.
I used to get that a lot.
I'm a withering old man. I'm gonna be walking around with like a cane that like Alice Cooper would go on stage with. That's what it's gonna look like.
I was
the rifle retiring
guy from 30 on.
All right. I'll get back to the story, because the point of the joke was.
Can you feel that we're distracting him? Damn it! I
was gonna say, we'll let you get back into the swing of things.
All right.
Here.
No, but the point is, like, if half my generation can get away with watching SpongeBob until they molder into dust, I can enjoy a 50-year-old puppet show. It's science fiction. Sue me. And there was this episode called City of Fire.
I just love your characterization. Just the reductive nature of that statement and the sarcasm involved was brilliant. Sorry.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Dennis Miller, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. I was gonna say you're it's sounding like you're gonna be hot on Razor Fist coattails here pretty soon.
He's also the reason why I listen to half the music I listen to, so I'll get that out of the way entirely. No, seriously, it was that metal mythos on Motorhead that made me realize, I love Pink Floyd. The Wall is still one of my favorite albums of all time. New favorite band.
I couldn't get it. All of my friends growing up, whenever they discovered Pink Floyd, it's because I was around a bunch of musicians and shit.
Yep.
Dude, Pink Floyd, I just like that. Good tunes, fantastic musicians. Right. But I just couldn't get into them the way that everybody else was. I don't know what it was. It just did not, again, absolutely fantastic. Was it Floyd did Kashmir, right? Yeah. No.
No. Kashmir was Led Zeppelin. That was
Zeppelin. Sorry. Yeah, another band that another band that I couldn't another band that I tried to get into the way that everybody else was, but I just couldn't. But they're fantastic. And I know that they're fantastic. And mathematically, when I listen to their music, I know what they're doing. I know how they're constructing all of it. I know, well, probably how high off their asses they were to get a lot of that.
Very high.
But I just couldn't. It just didn't hit me the way that it hit a lot of people.
Right.
And
my Pink Floyd aside is this. Hey You is kind of a song that I really listen to whenever I try to write for The Hunt, because it gets me into that very dour, kind of introspective, moody sort of feel. Because that's really, The Hunt's the most character driven, and there's a lot going on there I want to try and do psychologically and mentally. And it's like, I need something with that sort of ambiance. And that's Hey You from The Wall is the song that just gets right into it every time. All right, back to Thunderbirds for the third time.
see what happens? I told you, good luck on this stream.
Yeah.
I know. Well, now you know why I was fucking declenching listening to music beforehand for like a straight hour. Just relax. But yeah, so there's an episode called City of Fire. And it focuses on this giant high rise. It's essentially this city within a single building called the Thompson Tower. And the episode centers on this family, father, mother, and son, who are going. It's kind of like a day out thing. It's one of the grand opening and so forth. But what happens is an accident happens in the car park beneath the building. Giant fire happens because it's Derek Meddings. He can't just do a little tiny boop, flame. It's got to be everything explodes for reasons. And essentially what happens, they wind up getting trapped in essentially a bulkhead system in their hallways where they have all, steel doors slamming shut to keep smoke out, but it still seeps in through the cracks nonetheless. And so time's running out. Almost everyone else in the building's been evacuated, so it's just these three left in the building. And so heroes of the series, Tracy family, they spring into action. The central organization, International Rescue, sends, I believe it's Scott and Virgil, to the scene. And the big decision that has to be made is this. They have a way to cut through the steel. And it's a fast-acting gas, coming out of the welding torches. The problem is, it's a very experimental formula that even with protection, after enough exposure, will seep through your pores and attack your blood cells. Essentially, after prolonged use, they will asphyxiate and probably die. And so you're asking the question, do we go in and save these three, or do we call it a successful rescue by any other name since hundreds of thousands have already been evacuated? And what do? They strap on and they go in. And they cut through door after door after door, even if it cost them their lives. And this is the question I always ask people. Where the hell have you heard a story that displayed that level of nobility, altruism, whatever you want to call it, released in the past 20 years. Exactly. Exactly.
In the last 20 years.
In the last in the last 20 years.
That's a good question.
I mean, I certainly can't think of anything in the
not in the last 10 for sure. In the last 20 though,
I don't have anything that comes to mind. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Well, and it's, it's the line that I always love, and this is something that always hits me really, really hard whenever you get to scenes like that. But it'll always be this person who gives up their life for another person and make those decisions that, no, I could die, but I'm going to do this anyway. And it's always that thing. And it anytime I see it in a story, I just like it. Yeah. Instant chick moment, just fucking, but right. Like the greater love hath no man than to give his life for his brother. Right. Or to give his life for another, or however people decide to paraphrase that famous phrase from the Bible. But that's just one of the things. And every time I hear that, I always think greater love hath no man. And I just, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, man, but it's so true. It's greater love hath no man than to literally lay it on the line. Go for it. It's what, not to taint this stream uttering the horrible House of Mouse here, but it's why in the first Captain America movie, everybody freaking loves Steve Rogers. Because he throws a dummy grenade, everybody scatters, and Steve jumps on the grenade to what could potentially kill him, because everybody else obviously thought it was real. And his first thought was protect people, and if it costs me my life, it costs me my life. And that's what makes people Lee corrected me down in the chat, then to give his life for his friend. So thank you so much, Lee. But that is one of the biggest things that people miss out so much. And it is a tale that is thousands of years old. And absolutely, for some reason, all of a sudden, you can't do it now. And
yeah, I think that there's, I was going to say, I think that there's a few stories that are close to it in that they have a character or characters, like staying behind or, doing something for people who are there, like their family or their, their teammates or somebody that they have relationships with, you know what I mean? But to do it for people that you don't know, I think that's something that you haven't seen. So I suppose to that degree, you'd be correct for sure.
Yeah. And the reason why I point to this story specifically is
my lovely wife has brought gifts.
Excellent.
Oh, wait, no, we're not done yet.
Oh, boy.
Oh, geez. The more you resist this heckling, the worse it's going to get, Royce.
I know. But to make the point for real, make the point for real. The reason why I always like to tell this story is because it made me realize that what I really want to see out of not just the stories I tell, no matter how much I play around in the taboos and stuff, because literally half of 365 Infantry, it's not just science fiction, it also is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It really is that to a degree, because
things that everybody should get back to.
Exactly. But even through all of that, there's a purity to what happened in that hour-long show that I'm like, where is that now? Well, how do we get back to that now? And that's something I try to answer in my work, but not always consciously. I'm not always saying, hey, I want to do a story about nobility or about altruism. It's kind of at the back of my mind, and it's like the litmus test of being, okay, how true to this can I be in this story? And I think I get to that in an upcoming story. It's in the winter edition. It's the cover story too. for the war, where there's this dynamic between Knox and Gibson that I'm sitting there reading through it, and I'm like, this is raw stuff in the best way. It really, I think I'm getting warmer. I'm getting really close to maybe not always being 100% on the money with that pursuit of that, total noble factor, but I'm getting close, and I really like feeling like I'm getting close to that, because we need more of that just in the landscape in general. I've gone through art house cinema. I've gone through, all the postmodern stuff. I've gone through experimental literature, music, film. I've walked the mile in that sphere, and I've learned a lot from it. I've learned a lot from, different foreign film scenes and different, people who tell stories in a very unique way.
You, in the last 20 years, I'm sorry, you said who had displayed something like that level of nobility. Yep. Have you seen Train to Busan?
I know exactly the film you're talking about. Yes.
Okay. You know exactly the scene I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay. As soon as you said foreign films, it clicked. That that scene that we're all thinking about, that was the noble scene. And there's actually several of them in that movie.
That's something that's in a lot of Asian cinema, both in film and television. The self-sacrifice element is part of the honor culture back, in their past.
Asian cinema still seems to have this idea that you need to honor the culture that you're in and stop trying to demand that the culture that you're in honor you, right? We seem to, and I won't say we, because I don't think we're a part of that, but the West seems to have this backwards idea that the culture needs to honor you, and that's totally backwards. You need to honor the culture. The whole reason you're here is because of the culture and the faith and the hardship and the strength and the courage and the fear and the love and the sadness that everybody before you has experienced. And people don't seem to want to, one, experience all of that and recognize that in their own lives, and two, because they won't recognize it in their own life, can't seem to bring it to fruition in storytelling.
Right. Yeah, and you're definitely right about that being throughout a lot of Asian cinema. Because I also think back to sort of the dynamics, the team dynamics in films by directors like Johnny To, because he's directed a lot of films I really love, like The Mission from 1999, Exile from 2006, and of course the big one he's kind of known for in the West, which is Election from 2005. But specifically, I think about The Mission and Exile because those do see this kind of team that's almost this sort of extended family unit. That obviously, it's also against the backdrop of crime.
Yeah, so that's a common trope.
There's a sordid element throughout it, especially because we're dealing specifically in triad societies in Hong Kong. So there is definitely a lot about honor and about, sticking with, the group, so to speak. And I really do think back to those group dynamics when you mention, honoring the culture.
And it's something that I think that's part of the reason the Iron Age creators and the people who are kind of accepting of that term, well, one, because it gave them a term that was one, popularized by a massive personality, and two, kind of describes the decentralized nature of things where, people just hammer it out, stop asking permission and don't ask for forgiveness for writing your own stories. That's kind of the sentiment here. But it also gets into the heart of the idea and why I think the Iron Age movement is so powerful right now, because people are getting back to those things that we all know brought us to where we are. Whether we have our religious differences, our political differences, or so on and so forth, all of us can recognize the tenets of society and the tenets of culture that brought us here And people are just like, look, I want to tell these stories that got me to where I am.
Yeah, you recognize the virtues, you recognize, not personality trait is the word. You recognize,
I think personality trait of culture, personality trait of society. I think you can use that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that'd check out. But essentially, it does come down to getting back to almost those sort of universal kind of principles where you can really agree on them, setting aside, political, whatever, religious belief, basically just kind of things you can recognize these are innately good, being kind to one another, being brave enough, that is stuff that I try. And not just in this project, just in general, it's something I've started to do in my work more and more, as not just as a writer, but also as a filmmaker. And yeah, it's something I've definitely been thinking about a lot. I really have been thinking about that a lot. And I will also say to the matter of, kind of Iron Age being this sort of galvanizing, pun slipped in there.
It's hard not to do it, right?
It's hard not to. Man. Look, it's doubly so because for me, the Iron Age, and I say this with every awareness and without a shred of irony, because that's also something I try to purge from a lot of what I do artistically. It really was the thing that helped give 365 life, because one, out of nowhere, I found out Razor had actually retweeted my article entering the Iron Age, which was kind of my manifesto, for lack of a better word. Me saying, hey, look, this is what I'm about. This is what I want to do with this series. And I really do feel like this is the time for a production like this. And not only did it give me that boost, literally subscription figures shot through the roof, like website hits. We were hitting record numbers off of that post a lot, and it's still the most popular thing on that website. It's entering the Iron Age is still the most popular article, setting aside stories, the most popular article on the website. But it wasn't just that. It was, I think I had mentioned this on Rob's Substack in a comment. My problem with before the pre-Iron Age ilk, everything is so fractured and fragmented. There is, and it's not that there's nothing for creatives to rally around. There was nothing for an audience to grab hold of. That really is the way I saw it. I think the analogy I used is it's like attending a convention with authors, with tables loaded with books and merch, and not a single fan on the floor. So just full booths, no audience. And this isn't a knock against your comics gates or your Superversives. Is that how you pronounce it?
Superversives, yeah.
Superversive, Pulp Rev. It's not a knock against any of that in and of itself, but it's the creator's so preoccupied with creating, like you never get a chance to really find out where the audience is because you're almost writing for each other and never really getting beyond that. Outside of course, the people who are able to bring that to outer audiences, just through good old-fashioned advertising. But the Iron Age really was that moment where I was like, okay, this is what to rally around, because it is all encompassing. It really does describe the epoch of this particular breed of creativity, of artistic, not indulgence, but
well, I think our, for lack of a better term, artistic starvation.
That too.
It's one of the things that really struck me, because obviously I watched, the Razor Fist video right after Eric July came out and is, become the culture. Right. And when the thing that struck me, and I've talked about this several times, was when he's like, who's going to run the non-woke version of Reddit? Who's going to run, who's going to do all these websites? Who's, and that hit me, and I was like, and he didn't say YouTube, which I'm surprised he didn't, but he didn't say YouTube. And I'm like, but I got the point. Where are these people going to be to want to shout out the authors and the new creators and the filmmakers and all of these people out here who are creating exactly what all of us have been begging for from mega corporations.
Right.
And I was like,
absolutely,
I can do it. I mean,
and that's necessary because the creators are spending 3, 6, 9, even 18 months designing the things that they're designing. Like from an author perspective, some things take me 3 months, some things take me almost a year to write through and get finished and get ready to put out and publish. So plus you have your own life on top of that. So one man or woman can't do it all. Like you can't run your own marketing team. You can't run your own social media management team and produce on a steady basis because you're pulled in too many directions. And that's why when Royce magically appeared to me on the hill,
No, we're not doing that.
Yes,
do not give my chat more ammunition. Stop it.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden, the Ben-Hur music starts playing in the background.
Yep. Flock of doves.
Ray now it's just a John Woo movie. Now you brought the doves into it. Jesus.
I'm just pulling
what
from everywhere.
Weapon am I holding?
Anyway,
if I'm on the hill, what weapon am I holding?
That's a good question.
What giant battle axe. That's the answer. Giant ass
battle axe guy.
You can decide. But anyways, my point is when this popped up, I went, this is the thing that's been missing from my personal arsenal in this, I guess for lack of a better term, arena, because I didn't have time. Like I only operate off of Twitter and Discord from my laureate group. And I, unfortunately am not very active on Gilded for many reasons, but it's because I just don't have time for any of it.
Right. Of course.
So,
dude, I barely have time for my own Gilded. Sorry to cut you off, Jake. Go for it.
No, it's all good. No, my thing is I'm actually gearing up to after I graduate to sit down for a year. I'm getting things fixed with family to get this done. Where I essentially take the year just to devote all my power to my creative work, because I had kind of my own, like, not my 365 come to Jesus moment, but my come to Jesus moment, which was.
Oh, you mean okay? That G. Okay.
No, but specifically, it
not
was
Royce on the hill.
No, not Royce on the hill. It was just. It was specifically me wanting to say, hey, look, if I'm gonna fail, I'd at least like to fail on my own terms for once. That was the promise I wanted to make to myself, because I can do a lot considering what I'm doing, because I have plans for not to cut into your turf, Royce, but I do have plans of getting back on YouTube.
I don't have a turf.
It's hear that he's threatening you.
It's like a square inch of land. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay. Because I have heard this from 4 people in the last week that have private messaged me and saying, hey, there's this thing I wanted to cover, but I wanted to make sure that it's cool with you that I cover it. And I want to be abundantly clear to everybody out there. And I know you were saying it somewhat as a joke.
Yeah.
Jake, I sorry. I'm my bad. I know you were saying it somewhat facetiously. However, that does hit to a point. There are a lot of people out there thinking that this is somebody else's turf, this is somebody else's gig, and they shouldn't intrude on that. And I understand that. And the way that I describe it is this. We're not taking pieces out of one pie. We're making our own pies. And if I make a pumpkin pie and you make a pumpkin pie, guess what? We might make those two pies flavored a little bit differently. So although it's the same type of pie, my flavor is going to be a little bit different than your flavor. And that's what you build your audience around. And that's what you should.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? And so when people are like, you know, because people have, hey man, I just want to be respectful of your, and I deeply appreciate it. But don't ask permission and don't ever ask for forgiveness. Go out, do your thing, do it honestly, do not step on other people. And that's the thing. Right. And here's the thing. If anybody comes out and they start being, you know, talking about all these people who are in the Iron Age movement, and they start building an audience and they grow and they grow and they surpass me and they surpass anybody else and they get up to millions of subscribers and they're there and they happen to have hung out on my channel at one point in time, I'm going to be ecstatic for them because that's what they should do. They should build their thing. They should chase after it. You know,
and I do have a specific point I want to make about that because it ties back into why I kind of push for a sort of depoliticization of how we talk about art and entertainment in this sphere. The biggest thing also you can do is not just set up shop on YouTube, but, you know, we'd said, you know, who's going to be, you know, the non-woke version of Reddit or what. Fill the niche that is being left void because all of the alternative video platforms are being like gobbled up by like political content. And I really do feel like not only will you have, you know, the greater freedom to say what you wish to say, but more importantly, you'll be bringing it to an audience that is not being presented. Like, I'm sure there are people who are only on BitChute or only on Rumble, but because like the lion's share of content over there is just political commentary, news, etc., who's filling the entertainment void? Who's leaving reviews there? Who is, you know, who's posting their music there?
Everything that I have goes over to Odyssey and Rumble, and for two reasons it doesn't get a lot of hits. One, there's not a lot of people looking for what I'm doing over there. Hell, there's not a lot of people looking on YouTube for what I'm doing, but there's just more people, right? There's just a bigger crowd over here.
There's just naturally a bigger crowd here.
Exactly. And the other side of it too is that their platforms have a long way to build before they're ready to promote actual entertainment and normal entertainment. And what I mean by normal entertainment is like, I guess, non-political, you know, just entertainment.
Right. Yeah, political commentary is easy.
It is.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say that there's I mean, people talk about a piece of the pie.
I'll be right back, guys.
You know, whatever. It's one of these things where look at the number of political commentators, right, left, or center. I mean, there's 1 million people doing, you know, 100 different shades of gray on the exact same thing, saying almost exactly this, in some cases, the exact same thing. So, and plenty of them are doing just fine. So I really think that there's a real tendency to have a like look at a market and look at the existing, like the existing numbers rather than like the growth potential, and you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I definitely don't want to have, impact anybody's decision making within the space, because, you know, one thing, and I'm sorry I had to step away there for a few minutes. I had a daughter making demands, so
as they do.
I was gonna say, yeah, but you know, what you were talking about before with, you know, just you're doing what you want to do. You're consuming the media that you enjoy, and then you're not there's no apologies for like, is this a little bit too out there, or, you know, whatever. You're approaching the look and the style that you want to that you want to do, and just going for it. I think that that's the correct attitude to have. And especially right now when the the movement is still pretty small. It's part of the reason why I've pushed for short stories and things like that on the site.
I will write one, I swear.
One day, yes. Okay. It's
you can have some.
I was gonna say I should have I should make that a prerequisite before I allow people on the stream. No,
there you go.
But I mean, the thing is that you can iterate on what audiences really resonate with, and whether or not you're really conveying everything that you want to convey. I feel like doing anything the first time, you're almost always going to get better the second time you do it, and the third time and the fourth time,
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
I think just going for what you want to do right away helps you hone doing what you actually want to do, rather than trying to make something that's the mainstream, the most popular thing, yada yada yada, and then all you have then is practice being somebody else doing something you don't want to do, really.
Right.
So I think what your attitude on things is exactly the kind of attitude or the mentality that I think embodies the Iron Age. So
yeah, definitely.
And part of it too is because to tip my hand a little bit, the YouTube channel thing, because I mentioned it in DMs with you, Richard, was that I wanted to do sort of a reverse magazine format where you're going over recommendations of not just new stuff that looks interesting, but specifically combing through the past and saying, hey, here's a deep cut, or hey, here's why we love this classic, and covering music, books, movies, etc. As kind of a way to also keep me fresh and realizing, okay, this is what I really gravitate towards. This is the vision. But I also had another moment with 365 in particular, where I always had, there was always some of that keeping up with the Joneses thing in the back of my mind, where I was like, does this look professional? Does this look good enough? But then I also sit and look at, what I've been doing the past 6 months or so. And I'm like, my lead artist, his name is Kevin John Jacob. I knew him because he is currently working on a book by one of the guys from John De La Rosa's crowd, Paladin Dragoon. He's working on that book.
Yeah, and he's over here on this channel too. He pops in once in a while.
Yep, absolutely. Great man. Love chatting with him. We chat regularly. Basically, we kick shit back and forth and be like, hey, read this. I'm like, hey, look at this. And Kevin has been really...
I have 10 more beers, Blacklist Universe.
Magical. Kevin really is one of the greatest things that could have happened to me. He is such a natural talent who kind of gave me something very special about 365, where he managed to blend, because he's based out of the Philippines. He's a comic artist, comic with a K at both ends. And he lent a sort of manga-esque quality to the art without taking away from the fact that it's a very heavily Western, not just genre-wise, but literally, Western production. And it's this unique fusion that I'm like, this feels right. This is the identity I want. And it might not be, it might not be totally polished. I might not have, Mobius, working on my, stuff, or I might not have, I don't know, pick your favorite painter. I might not have Vallejo or Frazetta, may he rest in peace. I might not have them working on my project, but right now I have the best version of it I could have, which is more than I could have asked for months and months and months ago. And that's kind of what made me realize, don't really worry about competition. Don't really worry about that. Just put yourself out there and put the material. And that's why I want to take that year off, is because the only reason why I haven't been putting myself out there as much as I'd like to, is because I had school in the background, and I had, oh my God, my summer job this past year damn near broke me in half. Paid fucking fantastic, but it was brutal.
Don't you hate those jobs? You're like, God, this sucks, but look at my bank account.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Those are the worst ones because you're like, I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life, but damn.
Right. But the way I also look at it too is I want to see if I can make these really turn a profit. And of course, I'll dovetail right back into getting people to give me money. Haha. See, bringing it all around, bringing it full circle. I want to push one. I'm trying to do merch more often because I'm starting out with Redbubble. It's kind of like the stepping stone up through your print on demand services. And so I want to get more designs on there. I also have a Ko-Fi account, which I kind of use as like a rash for a place where people can just straight up donate and say, hey, I like your stuff, have $5. Or I have to tell this story because I'd be remiss not to mention him. There is a wonderful, wonderful fellow from Razor Server, Weefy, who's essentially the series main mega fan. And let me spill you some of the insider details about how much of a mega fan this wonderful, wonderful human being was. I was running a little fundraiser for the next 2 quarters of art. So to fund this coming winter and next spring. And I set the goal at 600 because it's 60 a sheet for 5 pieces of art. And that's 10 pieces of art in total. And, I was letting it roll. People were kind of filing in. People were kicking a few bucks here and there. All of a sudden, this man gives you, let me shake the camera a little, lean in real close to the mic, $500. Mm-hmm. This man wants this series made. We'll put it like that. And I love him he's become he's become one of my best friends, especially in the online sphere. And it's that energy. I made this joke when I was on the Brendan's podcast, the Aris Press. If this series is going to stay alive, it's just going to be for that man. That man alone. If all else fails, if everyone runs away, they're like, ew, furries, run. If all else fails, he'll be there. He'll be there.
The furry thing was a joke, right?
I know it is. I make fun of it all the time myself. Especially after I nearly lost my mind over a fucking DreamWorks trailer. I mean, for God's sakes. Having perspective is half the battle with this series because I'm telling they're fun stories. They're really, really just incredibly entertaining stories with a sort of edge to them that I'm not seeing in anyone else's work. But at the same time, I'm not sitting here thinking I'm writing Tolstoy. I'd have to be high off of every fucking blunt in the tri-state area to, I would have to be high in the words of Marvin Gaye, flying high in the friendly sky to think what I'm doing here is trying to be one of the classics. Because, and I'd mentioned this to Richard,
there's no way you're fucking 21.
I am, believe it.
You are so well spoken. That is unfucking
that helps
real.
With narrating. That helps with narrating shit. It really does. But yeah, what I was talking with Richard about was the big thing I hope the Iron Age accomplishes is rebuilding the middle market. And I would die a happy man if I knew 50, 60, 70, until I basically 150 at that point. I would die a happy man knowing that this series, it wasn't the Game of Thrones of its time. It wasn't, it wasn't the Lord of the Rings of its time. but it was there as pure just it would be like the Stargate SG-1 of its time. I could die a happy man, because that's
there you go.
The middle market is where a lot of just the fun stuff is.
Yep.
There's no
well, and it's also
there's
where
no anything.
Yeah, well, that's where a lot of
Richard,
you
if you
see
would.
stuff come up. Oh,
no, you're good. Make your point, and then, guys, I'm going to go to catch up on some super chats after Richard's
okay.
done. I've been trying to find a slot, and it doesn't exist. So
that's all right.
Yeah.
No, all I was going to say is that middle market is where you see a lot of people actually trying things. Because once you get on like a high enough budget, there's people who come in and they're like, no, we're going to do this safe thing most of the time. And like the very low end stuff sometimes just doesn't have either the polish or the marketing potential to get out there. So I think one of the things that my goal is to like bootstrap an ecosystem, and I think part of that is just increasing the ability of people to actually have a middle market for themselves. I see a lot of like direct publishing being the way that goes, but I won't get too far into that. You're up,
right,
Royce? Yeah, let's go to chat.
Super
Go
chat.
I do have to catch up on them because it's starting to back up on me. Wrangler gifted 5 more A Drink with Crazy memberships, letting Blacklist Universe into my membership tier. Gonna have to correct that shit.
Insta boot
Gets the yeah. I say it, but I don't have the balls to kick fucking Mike S. Miller out of my fucking memberships. Just one of the most notable comic book artists of our time. Just that guy.
Just pretend he got caught in the bot shot.
Just a purveyor of fine arts.
Right, purveyor of fine arts. That's what it is. All right, and Wrangler over here for $5 to show you bacon. Bacon. I love it.
Can't argue with it.
No, you really can't.
It's delicious.
Kikomon for $2. Like the video. Yeah, apparently people like the video. We have more likes than we do current viewers right now, which is awesome. But we don't have more likes than we did total viewers. So like the video. Do that thing. Kikomon paid money to tell you that Kiko. I did read that one because that was the big one earlier. Right. Raul Nyanzi is over here, and he says, when making children's media, you must appeal to families as a whole because children on their own don't have money. For $4.99, you are very, very true. Unless they're commie children. In that case.
that other part.
No, that's because parents believe you just give children money they call it an allowance, which is the most. Never mind. I'm not going into that. Never mind. Raul, thank you so much for the $4.99. I appreciate it. Let's get a few more because I need to catch up here.
Let's go.
Go for it.
Kikomon for $5. As Mark stated, Blacklist Universe pointed out, you didn't read it fully. You forgot the YouTube part. I did not get the YouTube part. I literally read the quote.
No, you did. You did. Chad is correct in this one.
I know. I said I was the #1 Iron Age YouTube guy. I literally.
Well, what are we supposed to do? The Batman?
Go back to the tape.
You were my #1 guy.
Back it up.
I read the thing.
I love Jack.
I swear I read the thing. Unless my noise gate cut me off, because it does that sometimes.
No, you just a word.
I'm not talking to you people right now. Why do you guys do this to me?
Because it's fun.
I read the thing.
Doesn't matter.
Chat. Don't
read it again.
Oh, Props' Press is here, or was here, or is still here. I have no idea where I am in the chat right now.
Well, if
but
she's
Props'
still
Press,
here.
she was
Katie.
a great yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, no, she was here last week. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wrangler, more ammo. We're reloading as you speak. Yes, that was what we're talking about. me being on a hill with a weapon and the sun shining, and I don't know. I don't know. There was something happening in the conversation. I was on a hill. I was not a part of that conversation.
Yes, you were.
Kikom on for $50. Shout out to the successful Shadow of the Conqueror campaign. Gary Button, everybody. Gary Button. Hey. Also, JDA, my favorite POC. And finally, James Craig, Faceless, and Black Knight Star Shatter. Keep the soy lubricated Iron Age cogs moving. Woohoo! Jake, join us. He is.
I am in the Gilded server. I'm just an absolute fucking boomer about using it.
It's all good. It's all good. You like that old commie server Discord? It's all good.
I was gonna say you if you want to talk about boomer moment, we might have had to try. We tried to have a Gilded video chat last night, and that was there was just one continuous boomer moment for everybody involved.
I literally, my Gilded voice chat is going all the time, and I'll pop in here and there multiple. I've never had that problem happen.
To be fair, Discord also had something similar happen. I was, as kind of like a surprise guest thing, I tried to hop on David V. Stort's New Pup Talk, which lasted a whole 15 minutes. Not because he got fed up with me, but because the Discord audio would not pipe in for love nor money. It was fucking annoying. But it was fun, and I really like talking with him, so I hope I can get on, his show sometime properly. But yeah.
Yeah, no, Richard and I had a wonderful conversation.
Technology is the bane of my existence most of the time. What the fuck? Oh God.
I was gonna say, there's one.
Apparently, I literally didn't read the word YouTube in that fucking.
Say it.
I mean, I think you ought to go back.
I have
give the man what he asked for.
I will read it. I will read it. I will read it. Damn it! And I have to do it in a serious voice. Like a serious voice, or like my YouTube presenter voice.
I vote for YouTube presenter voice.
Okay. It must be sincere.
I hate you all.
Your most sincere YouTube presenter voice.
I hate you all. God. I know it's going to get clipped. It's going to get clipped immediately. And people are like, who's this motherfucker?
I'm waiting for somebody to paint a picture of you.
Okay, I thought I missed the chat. I did feel like I missed the chat. But okay. I'll go back to it after I do this dumbass thing that I hate you guys. I hate all of you. God, I hate this. Dance, monkey, dance. I am the number one. I am the number one age YouTube guy. What the fuck?
Age?
That's what it actually says.
I am
okay.
I am the number one age guy.
Somebody clip those two together, and whenever we get a soundboard, we'll get it. We'll get it set.
I thought it could have been. Sorry,
it could have been worse. You could have been asked to read it in the "In a World" voice.
In a world full of devastation.
Exactly.
Right. Apparently, I missed a chat from Isidro Lopez Irwin.
We must find it.
I am trying to find it. Well, the chat keeps jumping on me is the problem. Did he? Because he did the $20 one that I read earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, chat is even jumping in StreamYard here.
Really?
I'm like having trouble keeping up.
Yeah, the problems continue.
I got nothing, guys. I got nothing. All right, for $2, you missed a super chat by Isidro. I don't think I did. I read the $20 one that he sent. Did he send another one, or is it not showing up in StreamYard? Strange.
All right, everyone, say goodbye to Catherine Francis.
Good night.
Good night, Catherine Francis. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Good night,
Good night.
So, no, she's awesome. She
is.
The way that I got introduced to her was because she covered this book right here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
and I'm thinking, I was like, I think there's another review of hers that I need to put up next week, but I'm still sifting through everything. Right. So I need to create a spreadsheet or something. It's getting a little bit, which is good. I mean, I'm happy to have the problem, you know.
Hey, at least business is booming.
Yeah,
exactly. It really is. It really is, man. Right. And it's
well, I just want to go back quickly and make a point, because you mentioned direct publishing as one of kind of like the vectors for building up the middle market. That's what I'm planning on doing for the time being, at least, with my print collections, because one of the big things I want to do for 365 is actually do full annual collections. So that's going to be 20 pieces of like of the series proper, because it's going to be across 4 quarters. For those, if I hadn't tipped it off enough already, I run this as a quarterly. So I believe it'll be March, June, September, and December. And that's going to be 20 pieces of fiction, God help me, on top of all of the extraneous and miscellaneous things like originals published, you know, under the paid subscription service. Such as, for instance, I've been doing flash fiction to accompany Red Light Bites as kind of a way to draw people in, saying, hey, here's the news about the series, and here's a story you can read, you know, afterwards. And I might reformat that, so some of that's behind the paywall and some of it's going to be up for free. But stuff like that, that's all going to be going in the collection as well as writing original exclusives for the print, so it won't be on the website at all. And I've got a real fun one cooking up for the 2022 collection, because I've been going over it with one of my friends, and I have a character I've been sitting on who is my spy character, because I like just throwing all the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And we've got something really special for him planned. I'm working on a very different art style for him. I'm working on a very different feel and language for the character. And that's the fun of this series too, is because I'm treating it as an umbrella. I'm not treating this like a multiverse thing. That's the one thing I never want this to turn into, is like the extended cinematic universe, because it becomes contrived and played out.
I'll be back. Dogs are murdering each other. I will be back.
No props. Save the pooches, please. Yeah, that's my biggest concern about this series, is making sure it doesn't turn into, oh my God, we're going to have this character crossover with this character. Don't know why I'm doing the Kermit voice for it, but fuck, let's roll with it. Crossover with this, you know, these ridiculous nonstop crossovers. I mean, I fucking love Godzilla. I got the Showa era box set from Criterion somewhere in this room. I love that stuff, but I'm not here to do the versus thing, and I'm not here to do trans-dimensional crossing the Twilight Zone crap. I really want this series to be almost like an anthology. It's almost counterintuitive, but it's a serialized anthology. So you have your set of stories focusing on the main conflict. You know, hey, here's what Gibson, Knox, Teddy Blunt, the whole crew are going up against this week, to use TV lingo. You know, here's what's happening. Here's how Lita, Marcus, Sabina, here's how they're tackling this situation as they're in their quest finding this Coliseum. And, you know, hey, here's how Lita's fucking shit up in the middle of the city, because that's kind of what she's used for at this point. It's just, hey, you got a problem? Let me make it worse for the people I need to make it worse for, which is so much fun. I just love writing her like that. And, back out in the wastelands, hey, Nick, Gail, and the boys, they're fucking playing their music. And all of a sudden, oh shit, Commissioner calls in. Oh, another fucking degenerate to kill. All right, we're on. Everything has its place and contributes to this overarching feel and ambience for the series, but I never wanted to feel like all of a sudden when two characters cross, it turns into like the fucking Jimmy Timmy Power Hour.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's I think that has been a problem going back a ways, but it's really gotten bad in the last 10 years, obviously, with the Marvel
Phase 4, Phase
Mania.
5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't even know what phase we're in now. It's like I stopped watching before they even were talking about phases, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean?
Here's my spicy take. The last great comic book movie I've watched was Blade from '98.
Nice.
I don't know, man. The Dark Knight was pretty good.
I do have the box set of Nolan's trilogy, and I've been meaning to get into it. My thing, though, is I really liked what I can only describe as the whole neo-Gothic thing that came up in the 90s, where you had The Crow, Burton's Batman, which led to Return of Batman, which led Batman Returns, which led to Mask of the Phantasm, and you also had a lot of the weird B-tier action, like superhero films being made, like The Demolitionist and stuff like that. But Blade really was kind of the capstone to that whole slick, dark look. That the only other thing that did that really did it in that particular way, I feel, was basically Underworld, and that was it.
Yeah. What was the other? I'm blanking on the name of the film, but it was it was an influence to The Matrix. I think it was like, I want to say Night. What was it?
Oh, crap. You gotta pull that one.
I'm like looking because there were a bunch of
I know.
Well, there were like 5 influences of The Matrix.
Neuromancer, but
Ghost in the Shell was obviously one of the big ones. That was one they were pitching a lot on the back of.
I swear it's like Night something. Oh, man, hold on.
Oh, are you talking about Dark City?
Dark City. There we go. I was thinking of Night City, and I'm like,
no, because that was Alex Proyas. That was the guy who directed The Crow as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, his films, those two films in particular, jaw-dropping to look at.
You talk about all these neo-Gothic style films, and I mean, although it may not be a masterpiece, but the Spawn movie, definitely right up there in that style.
I don't know. I think I liked it was John Leguizamo in a fat suit. I think that was
that was great. It was great.
To be fair,
I didn't say it was good. I didn't say it was good.
To be fair, to be fair though, the TV series did have that energy. The TV series definitely had that energy.
I never saw the TV series.
Really?
No.
Well, I mean, never really a fan of Spawn to begin with.
I've been dig into it because I kind of like I like the general idea, and I also like the idea of Keith David in the role. Because that man, again, he's one of those voices that could read the phone book, and you can just sit there and be like,
I'll agree, but at the same time, it was way too dark, and it only got darker as it went on.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. That's kind of my thing too, is that it was sort of, I felt like it was awfully nihilistic. It was probably ahead of its time in terms of the amount of nihilism, you know what I mean, that you see in it compared to modern media.
Well, but it's but it was rare back then, so you could actually do it. It's not like nowadays where everything was nihilistic.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was interesting in that regard.
But the point I was making was that it, if you look at the progression of storytelling in general, storytelling always ramps up. So when you start at a point of total deep darkness, where the heck are you going to go? You can only go so far before you become utterly perverse and it just falls off the rails at that point. Whereas other shows and other intellectual properties that run for long periods of time get the opportunity to build out, and if they want to, they stop before they hit that point, or they can try and push it, and that's usually where you go, yeah, the last couple of seasons of the show kind of sucked and it's gotten weird, but they do it because they can. But they've done it after 8-9 seasons of good that started to lose momentum because you only go so far in the power creep.
Right.
Well,
also,
and it's
also just to highlight that chat, that from the chat you mentioned, yes, him as Goliath.
I can't show it, but my wife actually custom made a Gargoyles banner. It's up there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And it's in the same style as the Zelda banner here, but the chat's hiding it. Damn it!
You're being assaulted by all your goodies. Jesus.
Well, it's the picture that my wife gave me for our anniversary, and I got a new desk, and it's murdering me.
Hey.
So anyway, but
as far as revolutionary cartoons, if you really want to go that route, Gargoyles is high on my list.
Well, I mean, one of the
earliest
episodes. One of the earliest episodes of that first season had honestly one of the greatest lines I've ever heard uttered in an animated series, which is, "I've been denied everything, including my revenge." After they've been turned to stone. Yep. It's such an incredible moment, like dramatically speaking, and it still works.
So I want to throw this out there, talking about writing in children's shows, and I was having this discussion years ago with one of my best friends, Matt, and a couple other people. And we were talking about the music of like Disney movies from back in the 90s when, Disney was kind of doing their whole Renaissance thing that they were doing.
Yeah, basically Alan Menken and then five other people.
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about The Lion King. And
which is one of the five other people.
What's your favorite Disney song from The Lion King? And mine was the name escapes me now, but the song that Be Prepared by Scar, the one that Scar sings. And he was like, "Really? That's your favorite song?" He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because listen to the language that they use and the articulation of that language. They didn't treat children as stupid." And my buddy was like, "Wait a minute." So we played the song and he listens to it and he goes, "Holy crap, you're right." I was like, that's why it's my favorite. And that's why things like the Gargoyles stand the test of time, because as children, when we felt that our parents were just brushing us off, "Oh, go away." "Oh, you're not right." We would watch these shows that would talk to us like the way that we wish adults would talk to us. And I think that that's why certain things are so impactful on kids. And that's why certain stories stand the test of time with people, is because as children, when we find that thing and we go, "Holy crap, you're talking to me the way that I wish people would talk to me." And it's incredible to see. And I definitely don't see that with a lot of what's happening with, the stuff that my kids are interested in, but I also try to show them things that, aren't total garbage.
Right. But here's also my take on it. This is, and I'm not going to use Anderson as an example because there are actually quite a few other examples I can use. The British, honestly, because British television is kind of world renowned for longevity. I mean, they're home to some of the longest running shows like Doctor Who and Last of the Summer Wine. But British children's
I was just talking about Last of the Summer Wine with Disparu over on Night's Watch. I love Last of the Summer Wine. I love that show.
Still so funny, especially oh my god, it was Give me a second.
No, and I watched a lot of like the 90s iteration. Obviously the cast and crew has changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, no, of course, especially because with
I was watching that show before you were born.
Well,
fuck you, by the way.
Oh man,
I
hadn't really thought about that aspect of it, but
well, I was feeling old.
To be fair, it was also running before you were born. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, I just sat and did the math on when you were born, and I went, "Oh God."
Yeah, you guys are talking about furries
the point
and
is,
all that stuff.
Okay,
and I'm like, Wind in the Willow. Right. I'm so old, I think of Wind in the Willow immediately.
Well, actually, there's my segue, because the reason why I was looking up Last of the Summer Wine is because I wanted to mention a guy who played, I believe it was Norman Clegg, Peter Sallis, who also many people know as the voice of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. Mm-hmm. He played Rat in the Cosgrove Hall series of The Wind in the Willows, with Michael Horton as Badger. I believe it was it was a playwright who I think it was a playwright who'd played Mole, and David Jason as Toad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. That's a show I want to talk about, because I grew up watching a lot of British kids television, and it really did impact me on the way I look at fiction, because they were actually really mature scripts. And you can whittle that down to two people. Rosemary Ann Sisson, who was a dramatist who wrote, not only was she responsible for adapting the stuff from Kenneth Graham's novel that wasn't adapted in the pilot film in '83, she just had an incredible way with creating the pastoral imagery and verbiage and natural, dichotomies between characters. And then there was Brian Truman, who would, most of the time people know him for writing the funnier stories.
Mm-hmm.
But when he wanted to write something seriously dramatic, it brought the house down. Because I want to say it was, I can't remember if it was her or him who did the adaptation of Wayfarers All. Or I think one of them did Wayfarers All and the other did Pipers at the Gates of Dawn. Both episodes do not have any right being as mature, ethereal, and atmospheric as they were. And that totally blew my mind as a kid, because it treated the audience with respect. They just straight up did. They talked naturally. They weren't play talking or anything. Even David Jason, who was hamming it up to the high heavens as Toad, who is delightful at every frame he's in, even he felt natural within the narrative of the series. And, you're missing shows like that in the modern landscape. You're missing the first 5 seasons of Thomas the Tank Engine in the modern landscape, because the original work by the original work by Reverend Wilbert Veer Audrey, that is very strong prose. It's really, especially for children's literature, because again, his thought process, I believe this is the exact quote, not only do you have to write for the children, but you have to write for the unfortunate parents who have to read the story over and over and over again. And you have to write little lines in there that they'll pick up on, and they'll get that humor, while it goes neatly over the kid's head as they enjoy the story as wrote. And those first 5 seasons really captured that. And I remember growing up with those first 5 seasons, and they really did kind of shape the way I looked.
There were a lot of shows that did that were children's shows too. Not just, Atomic the Tank Engine, but so many. I mean, and
then there's the Teletubbies.
Well, we're not going there. We're not.
I'm
going
just saying
there.
they're not all.
Wait! I do have to ask this question.
No one bats 1,000.
You were no. Your daughter's a little too young for that, or was she in the Teletubby years?
Mine.
Yeah.
She was in the Teletubby years, but I
not
didn't
like.
allow it.
She was in the later one. She wasn't like I remember when the Teletubbies started. Like I was there when it was written.
Yeah,
Like-
she was at the point where it's got national attention, and it was sort of starting to like slope down the hill of being made fun of more than it used as a consumerism parade.
I saw the first episode.
And I wanted nothing to do with it. Even my mom was like, I heard about this thing called Teletubbies. I'm like, no, Mom. No, we're not going there.
I told you he's fucking old.
So do I.
I feel like me just being here is like shaming everyone for their age. Jesus.
Yeah. Maybe just
it's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Try not to be quite so young next time you get on here, okay?
We'll meet you out back later. It's fine. It's fine.
I've been old since I was.
We have 25. A hazing ritual, actually.
It's called Get Hammered and Have an After Show. No, man, there's so many. You know what's funny too is I took mine off a while ago. I was like, fuck this.
It's getting a little hot in here.
Yeah. The funny thing is how many people, and I think everybody does this. We all look at you. How haven't you seen this? How come you haven't seen that? Why didn't you see this? I'm like, do people understand the amount of just, even if it was like mediocre, our mediocre stuff back in the day was god tier compared to where storytelling has been recently. And it's just like, guys, I genuinely don't have the time to watch everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of stuff that came out that just, I mean, you look at it, you have what? 1, maybe 2 blockbusters a year now? Yeah, maybe 3 or 4. You used to have 20 back in the day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I haven't seen anything that I would consider a blockbuster.
Every summer, starting from like basically right after Easter to like about Labor Day, because you start getting in the Halloween season. That's what but then even the Halloween movies they'd be hot garbage, and they would scoop up money, and they'd make them for like 4 cents and some fucking pocket lint and rake it in.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much is just out there, whether it's kids content or adult content or family content.
One thing I will also say this, because this is going to be kind of me making this perfectly clear. I have that exact same problem, but the funniest thing is it's like anti-recency bias. I barely watch anything released nowadays. Not even because I overtly like resent it now at this point. It's literally just because every time you turn over one stone, there's like 50 other stones. It's like a Russian nesting doll of content. I spent one night watching 70s TV movies, and I'm like, oh, this is the good shit right here.
Yeah, so I actually have a question, and actually, why don't you read this, then I'll get to the question for our guest.
Thank you so much for putting up with my shit.
No, RH Snow, she's been saying in the chat that she has to getting going writing, whatever them words are, and but she's been hanging out, so she says hugs and farewell to all to be Iron Age heroes. Thank you so much, RH Snow.
And I saw your comment about filling out the form for a circle. I'll get you taken care of. I need to go back and see if there's any new submissions, and
I don't know how you manage all that. Genuinely.
He has powers.
I need more spreadsheets. I just need more spreadsheets. That's
more spreadsheets.
Yeah,
you're gonna be.
I feel like that's just gonna become your answer for like every problem.
Yeah, well, I trained.
Eventually, Richard's gonna be that Always Sunny meme.
I know, he's just like,
the wall of stuff, and he's
just spreadsheets everywhere.
Anyway,
like
but
that doesn't
I was going to say, for the people who know,
connects.
I've had plenty of experience with spreadsheets. I've been playing a spreadsheet simulator. I spent many years playing spreadsheet simulator.
Oh, God.
So I'm ready to go. But back to our guest. What I was going to ask is, like, so you have consumed all this old content and whatnot, but like what happened to you that, like, at what age did you like divert from the standard fare, and like what was the incident that sort of precipitated that? I watched your interview on the RS Press, so I think I might know, but I wasn't sure if there was like a specific thing or time or what happened. If it was a gradual interest or what.
What essentially had happened was it's kind of, it's almost like a 3-point turn of events. The first point was that when I was growing up and I was growing out of a lot of the kids content I was watching, I still had a bit of a thing for Thomas, but it was in the production sense. I was really fascinated by the miniature work. I was really fascinated by Terry Permain as a cinematographer. I loved the scores. I was transcribing them by ear. And so that really got me interested in production. And then my family, specifically my mom's side, were big Star Trek fans. And so I would grow up watching the original 6 original series films, including my wild, 12-year-old ass being in love with Star Trek the Motion Picture. Whereas most kids there my age probably wouldn't be able to sit down for like 5 seconds of 2001. No, I'm eating that shit right up like there's no tomorrow. But the moment really everything changed for me was when I watched TCM consciously for the first time. And what I mean that is this. It was sometime in early high school. I was flipping through the channels and I was catching the tail end of, and I still can't believe I remembered this, an old Warner Brothers melodrama called Lightning Strikes Twice with Ruth Roman. Of all things, I caught the tail end of that. So I'm like, all right, I'll let this play. The next film after was Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train. And after that, I did not look back. And it was partly because of that and partly because I grew up not having access to a regular theater going experience. Going to the movies was an annual thing. The family would go out, we'd pick a film. 2016, we went out to see La La Land in theaters, which I really do like Damien Chazelle as a director. I'm curious to see what he does with Babylon. That's coming out, I believe, next year or later this year. I'm not too sure. And also in college, I was able to go see The Northman. I basically was able to go see 2 out of 3 of Robert Eggers' films, who I love as a filmmaker. The Lighthouse, which blew me away, and The Northman this year, which is just colossal stuff. But those are kind of the outliers because there's something about the composure of dialogue, of performance, of score. Like you listen to the music of Bernard Herrmann or Miklos Rozsa, and you're like, there's something rich there that I'm not hearing in, no offense to Hans Zimmer, I'm not hearing that when I'm listening to like the music from The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, or I know I made the Ben-Hur joke earlier in the stream, but seriously, Ben-Hur, it won the man an Oscar for a good reason. The score blows you out of your fucking seat. But there's just something substantive there that I do not feel it. If it's in the modern day, it's in fleets and flits. It's there in specific projects, but you have to go mining through so much shit. It's hard to really find that moment at which you're like, okay, now this is resonating. Now this is cutting to this grand total of depth, so to speak.
Well, I think I saw a discussion on Twitter, and I think it was Brawl that brought it up, maybe, about film and like writing for film. To be honest with you, I'm kind of scatterbrained at the moment, so I don't remember exactly what it was. But I think that one of the kind of what you're getting at to a certain degree is that a lot of media, and you could say this probably about writing to a certain extent, but you can definitely say it about music and film, is that it's gotten very formulaic. Like like you're talking about with Hans Zimmer. It's we know what buttons to push to elicit X emotion. You know what I mean? Whereas with a lot of the older stuff, if you have a film, you're not just treating the background music as a sound effect, basically, to, cause certain emotional triggers or something else. It was like that score by itself was its own thing that somebody put a full amount of of attention and care into. And the same attitude for maybe certain like writing styles and things like that. And I maybe I'm alone, but I sort of feel like George R. Martin is very guilty of this to a certain degree, where it's like do like this formula to do these certain sets of things. I'm going to subvert the expectations in I don't know about a predictable way, but it's I've never been a big fan of the books. Even I don't know, but anyway, I don't want to get totally sidetracked.
No. I get what you mean, because I can also talk about it from the perspective of a screenwriter. Because I've written 2 full-length screenplays. I'm working on a 3rd and 4th simultaneously. And I've always resisted writing to structure because of that. I want it to feel organic. I never want it to be, oh no, we must reach its inciting incident by page X, or or everyone's favorite cliche in the rom-com. Oh no, we must have the 3rd act breakup, so there's tension in the final act of the film. I resent all of that. And it shows in my work, where even when I do plot things out beat for beat, like because I'd mentioned the 2 scripts on Aris's podcast. The first was Gunning, which is my very first screenplay, and it was it's for an animated film, and it was essentially me experimenting with the aesthetics of what I'm doing in 365, but in the confines of this mellow, not somber, but very reflective and introspective sort of drama about this SoCal drag racer who finds herself wanting to get back into the sport after having let go of it, and in short order, almost everything after she miscarried. Which is heavy stuff, I know. And that's the reason why I didn't shelve it, but I gave myself some time away from it so I can kind of find my voice. But that whole structure, there was no, oh, we get to here to do this, to do that. It was almost flowing like a dream, because I really drew a lot from Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America, where there's this natural ebb and flow between the past and the present. And you see there's that wonderful transition where Robert De Niro gets up on the crates and opens the peephole, and he looks through, and we push into the room, and we see a young Jennifer Connelly dancing to, I think it's Amapola. And then when we cut back, it's the child actor playing De Niro's character. And I'm like, that kind of informed the entire approach to that script, which was, don't think about, oh, we must reach this beat to hit this moment to get this reaction. It's make it feel natural. Let it flow. And I think that's just not done today because everyone's too busy reading Save the Cat, and that's not knocking.
Well, most people in it, and it is storytelling in a nutshell. Most people will, to tell stories, pull from experiences that they've had, whether through experiences of reading books or watching movies or seeing television shows, or God forbid, horrible upbringings that they've had, or so on and so forth. And it's one of those, it's one of those things that when you sit there and you think, okay, how do I go through this scene? How do I dissect this shot? How do I describe the feel of what my characters are going through in my novel? And oftentimes you pull inherently from the things that you have seen or felt, or I mean, I again, not the best songwriter in the world. Not going to claim to be, but I've written music in the past.
Right.
And I've done the same thing, whether it was from something fun that I enjoyed, or I wrote a song called One More. And the premise of the song is essentially an addict telling you, no, I just need it one more time and then I'm done.
Right.
And that was from watching family members of mine go through that. And what we're seeing now is with storytelling, with just the general sense of morality, is that one, there's not a lot of shame anymore.
Right.
And two, everybody seems to be wrapped in this social bubble, and their parents just put them in this social bubble wrap and they can't get out of it. It is, and it's really interesting to see because it's the antithesis of the human experience.
Right.
And that means that these creators have nothing to draw from. So what they make up, what they put in their scripts, in their books, and whatever medium they choose is hollow because it's imagined instead of experiencing the act of getting punched in the face. You're just imagining what it might be like to get punched in the face. Then you write it down. And that's why when we watch TV shows and see these things, we're like, I think maybe.
Right.
But
and
all right. Blacklist Universe, also known as Hi Mark or Mike S. Miller, says the story structure for films makes sense because the time constraints. Save the Cat is a great resource for new writers.
I'll say I agree with that, but with an asterisk. I feel like once writers learn structure, that's the exact moment at which the training wheels get kicked off. That's the precise moment when they should really feel free to just go hog wild. Because here's the thing, everyone writes the shit first draft. Unless you're some freak of nature like Harlan Ellison that just out of nowhere pounds out "I have no mouth and I must scream" in like a night or two. But not everyone is that. I'm not like that. But yeah, I agree that it's good to give beginners at least something to hold on to. But I say that if you wed yourself to structure as a creative whole, even though film obviously has time constraints, I'm well aware of run times being a big thing, especially because we're somehow in the paradoxical issue. Exactly. You have to know the rules to break the rules. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're in this paradoxical world where we at once have, oh my God, why is this film 2.5 hours long versus, the entire absence of like the 70-minute film.
Dude, I miss the 90-minute runtimes. I miss
I do
the
too.
90-minute runtimes. When it comes to film, I'm an action movie guy. I love my action movies. I just do. And I'm a guy that will defend the Expendables to my death. And they're not good. I don't know. Actually, the first one was fantastic because it had no plot and surprisingly a lot of character.
Here's also my thing about that. I'm a firm believer in taking the work on its own terms. It's the reason why I'd mentioned this on Aris, where and it's part of the reason why I do say people should push against hyper politically observing, every nano angstrom of, the subtext or what have you. Because if the work presents itself in a certain way, I think you should honor that first. See if it can achieve what it wants to achieve on its own terms. And that's what I love about like canon, Fair take. That's what I love about some of the canon films, because they know exactly what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Murphy's Laws of Riot. Cobra is, of course, a Stone Cold classic, high in style. but they still work. They still work in their own way. You know, you don't really sit there
as long as a story or a movie doesn't betray the rules that it asks you to buy into.
Exactly.
That's the big thing.
Exactly.
If you are coming at me with any sort of story and you say, here's my rules, buy into it. Okay, cool. The second that you ask me to buy into something that's beyond what you already asked me to buy into, I'm out. I'm done. I don't care anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's also a real common thing in recent movies where they're like, all right, here's the premise. Aha, we're going to subvert your expectations in the most obvious way possible based off of this premise. You know what I mean? And it gets really tiresome. I think that's a symptom of that's part of maybe what you were getting at with the Save the Cat, which is that I think people, they like get the rules and then they break them in the least creative way possible. You know, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, subversion can be fun and it can be interesting if done well, but forced subversion is a great way to lose an audience.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Subversion, and I'm going to use this in just simpleton terms. Subversion is when you were a kid and you were watching Scooby-Doo and you thought the villain was a different guy and they unmask him and it's somebody that you didn't think. That's good subversion. And then they go through and you're like, wait a minute, what? And they're like, well, because you were here at this scene. And how did you know that we did this thing? Nobody else was in the room and you mentioned it to it, and you're like, oh my, and as like a 7-year-old, you're obviously not thinking about that, but that's how good subversion works, is taking previously implanted information in the story and then revealing that information as something more significant than what the audience initially thought it was in order to garner shock and awe. And that's something that is absolutely fantastic in storytelling and what we've kind of lost. But
more
gotta get to the
nowadays.
chat, guys. So guys, go for it, and then we're gonna get to the chat.
All right then. There is one other kind of point I want to make too about the reason why I'm kind of I kind of hesitate towards really following narrative structure, because a lot of my inspiration really isn't drawn from thinking of how do we get from here to here to here to here, because a lot of the joke kind of made myself is that most of the times I start with a good opener, I've got a decent idea for an ending, God knows what's going to happen in the middle, but what I do is I wind up filling that out with stuff that inspires me aesthetically. And I kind of start to form my brain just works in a totally different way when coming up with ideas. Like I will go on long walks listening to music. And sometimes I'll pick I'll pick specific moods. Like sometimes if I really want to get into the mood for something like 365, when I'm writing 365, out comes the library music. But when I'm just walking around trying to get ideas, I'm blasting Wasp. I'm blasting Alcatraz. Because also, there's something subconsciously happening there. I pick very strong voices. Graham Bonnet, Glenn Hughes, Blackie Lawless. Because it's not so much that they're screaming, but it's that there's this incredible force that's like, it gets to something kind of primal. It really gets to something kind of primal. I said, we have a question.
James Craig, no, you're good. You're good. You could have gone a little longer. I just popped this up to give people a warning that, like, I'm gonna cut you off in a second. But so James Craig, author of Faceless and quite a few others. In fact, I think I'm receiving something from James Craig here in the next few days. Which James, gonna reach out to you after the show.
By the way, good to have you on, buddy.
Yeah. So, James Craig's question: in your opinion, should IPs be tailored to certain ages. Different stories require different kinds of logic. All right. I know.
The specific choice of IP concerns me.
Here, I don't think it should be tailored to certain ages, because with like Brian Asher, he is building a world that has different ages in it from totally different genres. I think his next one's going to be what, horror, right?
I believe so.
Is that what Brian Asher's doing? I still haven't gotten to the treasure of Lorev, but I mean, in his world, he's not just tailoring it to a specific age. What do you guys think about this?
Have you guys ever seen that picture of Thomas the Tank Engine, but redone for like Warhammer 40K Chaos?
No,
I'm just imagining certain
there are
IPs.
parts of the internet I don't go to.
I watched a video where somebody created
aged up or something.
Zombified Thomas the Tank Engine running over zombies.
Magical.
There's so much great Thomas the Tank Engine internet lore.
Yeah.
I guess
degenerates.
I know. Horrific. I guess my answer to the question would be, it shouldn't be tailored, but you should definitely know what it's appropriate for. Because here's the flip side of the coin. And it's the reason why I'm so adamant about pushing the speculative fiction, the metal imagery, and of course the overt adult material when I discuss 365. It's not because I'm here to be like, oh, here I'm supposed to get all the prudes and an upper. It's because I want people to know that this isn't just because they're, furry animals doesn't mean this is being made for kids, nor does it mean it's being made for like a demographic that's just kind of like
Freakazoids.
I'll put it like this:
in a fur skin.
Specifically, people who are kind of interested in the conceit and the conceit alone of them being animals, because it's not just that. There's so much I'm putting into it conceptually that it's like, you want to make it known to people. This is the exact
They weren't
audience
thinking of furries when they made Thundercats.
Yeah.
Like,
well, hopefully not.
Well, a lot of us might have preconceptualized that when we were younger. Anyway, Kikomon for $5. Once you see the Kikomon video, you'll have entertainment for a lifetime. Make soy great again. Great stream tonight, guys. Great stream tonight. Sauced.
He's probably been an officer and a gentleman. And I believe
get some rest, Kikomon.
Yeah, take it
also
easy.
I think we got a question from Calvin.
Yeah, I gotta ban his ass. Of course, the thought bots aren't here tonight. He didn't bring the thoughts tonight. So
I hesitate with the IP thing just real quick, because
go for it.
An IP genres are one thing. Genres clearly define it through subgenres, YA science fiction, YA fantasy, so on and so forth. They divide and can obviously tell you what is supposed to be for a specific age group. But an individual intellectual property can run the gamut.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and it's not going to need to be restrained. There's always the question of if you're trying for profit over creativity, and at that point, then
casting the wide net.
I will say this: I think there are certain genres that allow more creative freedom than others. So
for sure.
Calvin Gulata. This question, he hasn't been banned yet. Of course, he also hasn't been surrounded by thought bots yet. So, do you know the lore here? 365. Do you know the lore here?
I'm not sure I'm privy to such details.
So several weeks back, we're doing a lovely stream, as it were, a stream very similar to this. In fact, it had a very similar title to this. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Thoughtbots show up. Are you familiar with the Thoughtbots? Do you know what they are?
Yes, I am. I'm quite
so the
familiar.
Thoughtbots come parading into the stream down here, and Calvin decides that right in the middle of the Thoughtbot invasion, he's going to get down on that Thoughtbot action and decides to comment right in the middle of them. So as I am sitting here nuking Thoughtbots left and right, I see Calvin's name and I'm like, oh, well, he's with the Thoughtbots, obviously, because he's commenting right in the middle of them. So I nuke him as well. And then the chat was like, you nuked Calvin. And I was like, maybe that was a mistake. It wasn't, but I took it back. So Calvin. Calvin's and he's actually another Iron Age creator.
I was gonna say, for a moment there, I thought the end of the story was be like, yeah, no, I brought all these bitches here. I'm pulling.
He might. Oh, he probably did. He just won't say anything about it. But
take that to your grave, my
this
man.
is question: how do you feel about mob movies? Heard you mention Great Robert De Niro and was curious. Okay, one of the and it's really underpraised. I fucking love this movie. Public Enemies with Johnny
Michael
Depp.
Mann. Good taste. Good taste.
Dude, that movie is wow. And I watched the behind the scenes footage. They took stuff directly from history. Obviously, they have to take their liberties with it. Oh my God, Public Enemies. Have you guys ever seen it?
Mm-hmm.
I've been meaning to, but also I'm not surprised because you're talking about Michael Mann is one of my top 5 favorite filmmakers of all time. He is someone who I look up to forever as a filmmaker. I love Heat. I love Thief. I love Manhunter.
Oh shit, he did Heat.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. I didn't know that.
And also, he was the executive producer on Miami Vice, which explains a lot of that show, especially the font that he used in most of his films around the time.
Makes
Loki
sense.
still, but
what do you guys? Yeah, what do you guys think about mob movies? What do you? Where are you at?
I really do enjoy mob films because there is sort of a. It's because, of course, there's the obvious analogy you can make towards royalty, the way hierarchies work and so forth. But in general, there's this air of cool and there's these kind of magnetic characters that you wind up seeing in these films. Like, I love the Godfather trilogy, and I say that willingly. Yes, I do enjoy 3. Sue me.
I literally said I like and then when I say the Expendables, I mean all of them.
Right. I enjoy the Godfather trilogy, and I enjoy a lot of what Scorsese's done. Mean Streets is a classic. Goodfellas, iconic. But I will say the reason why Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone is my favorite film of all time, and it's because it does something that not a lot of mob movies do. I mean, short of probably The Godfather Part 2. It's able to twist you inside in such a strange way because De Niro's character does horrible things in that film, like genuinely reprehensible films. There's a infamous scene between him and Elizabeth McGovern that really is like a make or break point for a lot of people.
I'll give you another 15 seconds because we gotta move.
I understand. But point is, though, even in spite of all that, there's still room for this strange, affectionate nostalgia for like this turn of the century New York and for his time in child. It's such a bizarre cocktail of emotions, but it works.
Daniel, mobsters, how you feel? What you thinking?
Yeah,
movies.
I like mobster movies. It's sort of a mobster movie, but one of my favorite films ever is a unsung movie called Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Interesting.
The premise of the story is that this connected guy brings his crew back together after they've been separated for a long period of time, laying low, doing their own thing for a job that they screw up. And so the head of the crime family puts a bounty on their heads, and it's about their final hours after they screw up their job and what they do with that period of time. So it's a very character-driven tale, and that's why I like it, because it's got so much depth to it, not just in background, but in individual characterizations. But the all mob movies are fun, but I was not a fan of The Sopranos.
I've never seen The Sopranos. But before we go on that tangent, Iron Age Media, Richard.
I don't really have a good answer on this one, because I've seen Public Enemies and I've seen a couple other ones, but I haven't watched enough to like really. I mean, I've seen The Godfather. You know what? What was it? More recently, The Departed. I didn't really care. That one was okay. It just didn't really grab me nearly as much as everybody was like convinced. Maybe my expectations were too high, but yeah, I don't have anything. I don't know. I like.
I'm curious. Curious how you'd react to the Hong Kong original, as we would say, because I believe The Departed was the adaptation of Internal Affairs.
Mm-hmm. A lot of those movies at that time were actually.
Actually, I will say that just general recommendation, if you like good mob movies, but you like it in the Asian sphere, just go watch Johnny To films. Mm-hmm. Go watch The Mission. Go watch Exiled. Go watch Election. It's really good stuff.
All right. Okay, Stay Based says, question. Since Jacob seems to be a connoisseur of heavy metal, thoughts on the NWOTHM, new wave of traditional heavy metal? Found some awesome albums and bands through that channel.
I really do dig it as a movement, and it's a really good channel too, because they got me. I believe it was Icon of Sin I discovered through them, and quite a few others. But no, I dig groups like Wolf. I dig groups like Lucifer, that doom metal act out of Europe. It's a really great movement, because sonically speaking, it is what it says on the tin. It feels like vintage heavy metal, and it's just kicks you in all the best ways, honestly.
Frequency Studios for $4.20. This is tip. That's indeed that's some lore there that Blacklist Universe started on my channel. Mm-hmm. Real quick, James Craig says, to weigh in on my own question, I don't think there's a correct answer to my question. However, I don't think you should ever pull out a gun in the middle of Pokemon. Oh, that would have made that show so much better. Oh my god, that's great.
I'm 90% sure that there are guns in Pokemon.
I know
they just don't show the part where they take the Pokemon out back and shoot them.
Yeah, there's definitely because I've rewatched these with my kids. Yeah, there's definitely an episode where they all have guns and they're shooting it like a gigantic tentacruel.
Tim Allen's this question to the entire panel: what is your favorite noir movie? 1930s to early 1950s.
I'll let these guys go first on this one.
Mine's not.
I'm trying to think if it's. I'm trying to think if it's.
Enough. No, mine's not noir. My favorite. I'll give you my favorite movie of that time period. It's not a noir. But my favorite movie from the 1930s to the 1950s is The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Excellent.
Fucking very love excellent. That movie. My
Heard Hatfield's incredible in it.
It's amazing. The storytelling is
that painting
awesome.
At the end.
Oh my god, that painting at the end. Yes. Nobody knows this movie. Thank God. No, but you're right. Oh. No, yeah, no. The picture, it's not a noir, casting. but it is. Oh, the perfect casting. But that's my favorite movie in the 1930s, 1950s is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Richard, you're up.
So I had to look it up, but I guess it is within that time frame. It's The Killing by Stanley Kubrick. I haven't watched a lot of noir, but I went back and watched a lot of Stanley Kubrick at one point in time. So that's probably the one that I enjoyed most out of that time frame.
Very cool.
Jake,
that's 56, so it fits.
It's in there. The top of my list still has been Strangers on a Train, but oh my god, some of my favorites include Touch of Evil, Orson Welles, Double Indemnity, Billy Wilder. This is going to be kind of an odd one for some people, but Michael Curtiz's Mildred Pierce. Like, I know a lot of people see it as more like a melodrama than a noir.
we have time to watch all this.
I was gonna say I don't even know that one.
Oh wait, you're a film student. Never mind.
Yeah,
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
But there are two films I would highly recommend, and they're both by Fritz Lang, who directed M and Metropolis. And they are Fury with Spencer Tracy from 1936 and The Big Heat from 1953 with Glenn Ford. Fritz Lang is a god. Those two films are some of the tight, and it's some of the best films he made when he came over to America, hands down. And he made some doozies, Scarlet Street, Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, which literally I watched at like 4 a.m. out of nowhere, just like, oh look, Dana Andrews is on the TV, let's watch. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm up and I'm awake and I'm enjoying the picture. And then all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock and I'm like, what the fuck did I just do?
I've done that before. Daniel,
the life of a film student.
1930s to 1950s, probably noir, but I totally didn't, because I don't know a lot of movies from that time period.
Yeah, I'm not a huge noir fan either, but I agree with Jake on Fritz Lang. And I was going to say Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Not technically, but still, it's one of my favorite.
Oh no, it's era. Noir for sure. It's still in the ballpark too. It's because
I guess maybe it's my interpretation of noir may be different, but it never struck me as like a serious noir film.
It's definitely a departure from both The Stranger and Lady from Shanghai. I'll give you definitely that one.
Right.
But I'd still keep it in the ballpark though, because it still has a lot of the core elements.
You do not remember when Dorian Gray came out, Blacklist Universe? Fuck off. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're old, but you ain't that old.
If he's gonna start making jokes like that,
but not prehistoric.
Maybe he remembered the Italian film from the 70s. I don't know.
If he's going to start making jokes like that, we're going to have to start making jokes back at him about it.
I know. Swift Sword Rush, this question: what's your favorite war film? Jake, we'll start off with you.
Okay.
Favorite war film?
Off the top of my head, I'd probably say Where Eagles Dare. Richard Burton, Clint Eastwood, based on, I believe it was a story by Alistair MacLean. And it's a really random thing, but I love it to bits. The score by Ron Goodwin.
I know of that one. I've never seen it, but I know.
Where Eagles Dare. Definitely recommend it. Just a classic. No, I think it was set in World War II, I believe. I think. But it's a great spy thriller. It really is. And it's a great... Honestly, it's just a really nice film. I need to go back and watch it. I haven't seen it in like ages.
Daniel, favorite war film?
I'm an FMJ fan.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Hey,
All right. Richard?
If you're going to go for a war film, Full Metal Jacket.
There you go. Oh, I got one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some good ones, but the only thing that I really go back and have watched multiple times, and I know it's not a film, it's cheating, but Band of Brothers was just so good. I really think
that's fucking cheating. First of all, fuck off.
Yeah, well,
it is cheating,
but I can at least compete. Gettysburg.
That's fair too. That's solid stuff.
Gettysburg is phenomenal.
Fucking amazing.
And I'll put it this way.
It's 4 hours of just slow, methodical everything.
Right. And if you want a war epic, I do enjoy Battle of Britain. Like, it's not like upper echelons.
Have you guys seen the Pacific was also done, or Was it the Pacific? It was also done by HBO, but it was like the counterpart to Band of Brothers.
The Pacific.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
That one was
I haven't seen
I don't
it.
know. It was good, but it didn't have the
that
same soul as Band of Brothers. I didn't feel
Band
like.
of Brothers is fucking incredible. Oh my god. Oh, I actually my buddy owns the Blu-rays. I actually have to go buy the Blu-rays now. They're probably $150 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
Kikomon says, "Show you, Kikomon. Good night for $2." Thank you so much, Kikomon.
Put
I
the soy to
appreciate
sleep.
you. Yeah, dude, the guys got to go to sleep. Scrolling, looking for more questions. Seems a lot of people were just enjoying that conversation. Blacklist Universe, you're a liar. You don't remember when that shit came out.
I'm seeing a lot of good names popping up in chat too. Kelly's Heroes, Hacksaw Ridge, 1917.
Dirty Dozen. Ooh.
There's one. And also Heartbreak Ridge, which I believe was Clint Eastwood who directed that.
Eastwood has he's
a killer director. He really is.
Oh, dude, no, dude, I will never forget the first time, because obviously in his older, because everybody remembers him, Dirty Harry and all this, and from his younger career. But the first time that you watch Gran Torino will change you. I'm sorry, Gran Torino was, and it got a lot of there was a lot of political BS going on around at the time.
As there always is.
Right. Well, but this was during the heart of the Obama years, and there was a lot of right versus left, and Clint Eastwood, blah, 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 blah. But, dude, that movie had so much heart in it that it just was incredible.
He had a lot of pathos, especially in his work, especially in another film from around that time, Changeling from 2008. Must watch.
I haven't seen it, but send it to me.
I thought about that.
Tim Allen for $5. Go for Broke, Gung Ho, The Longest Day are my favorite war films, as well as the modern Midway for combat scenes.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did remake that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did remake Midway.
Gotcha.
All right, stay based. Alternatively, favorite horror movies. Ooh.
Oh boy.
I'm not a horror fan.
I'm not a horror movie guy, to be honest.
Man, I have a lot of. I'm a horror guy. I think.
Okay, so Richard and I will stand alone in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think my favorite of the
I was just gonna plug Chris Moonlight and be like Quantum Terror,
right?
Yeah.
I think my favorite of the golden era classics is not the super older classics, but The Thing is excellent.
Yep.
And then
just read this and then continue.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's not my favorite. I didn't enjoy that at all.
Oh
no. But
okay. Sorry, I about spit my beer on my monitors.
And then as far as campy movies, I thought I really enjoyed Dog Soldiers was a kind of a crazy little B movie that I enjoyed a lot. And
I know it technically counts as a horror movie, but I just don't see it as a horror movie.
I mean, it's its own weird little thing. That's the thing I kind of like about that early 2000s horror. When it was
I like thrillers more than horror. Can I toss one in?
Oh, go ahead, but
toss one in.
Shoot.
The Skeleton Key.
Meh. I don't know. I never really liked thrillers as much as horror.
But
I want to see somebody get mutilated.
I don't like that. I'm not if it's an action movie, I want to watch a 50 cal rip a dude in half. But when it comes to horror, I'm I'd rather it be up here in my head, and I'd rather, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's the stuff that.
Right. Also, I give you my blessing, because if I'm not mistaken, that starred John Hurt, and he was my favorite actor in the history of everything.
I just like that at the end of the movie, the protagonists don't win.
Right.
And everybody's assuming that they will, and it's one of the few movies that actually had the balls to be like, no, guess what? It don't end up well for everybody.
Gotcha. All right.
The Conjuring wasn't bad. We got a lot of people down here commenting.
Yep. All right. So because here's the thing, I'm a absolute horror hound. I love the genre to bits, which is funny too, because growing up, I was a total fucking pansy, to be totally honest. I'm not joking. Michael Jackson's Thriller sent me running from the room. The Rick Baker's makeup effect scared the piss out of me. Which, by the way, Thriller 40 is out now. Please stream. I love the man's. You can tell I'm a Razor convert because I really do listen to Michael Jackson in amongst all the metal. No, but as far as good pick, Hammer Dracula, very good pick.
Ooh, well, I guess would Bram Stoker's Dracula wouldn't be considered horror.
Oh, hell yes, it would.
Yeah,
is that considered horror?
Yeah, it's the Coppola version.
Okay, yeah, that one. Yeah, probably
really
that Bram Stoker's Dracula for me.
I really love what Coppola did. Really, what he did with that. It's one of my favorites. But my all-time favorite horror film is Jacob's Ladder. Another one for Dream Logic, but also that movie, when it wants to hurt you, it'll hurt you. And I love and respect it for that, because it takes you on a real emotional journey, and there's something almost you can't really put your finger on about it. I mean, you could explain it to death, be like, oh, it does this. Well, you just have to sit there and let it wash over you, and you'll be terrified. You'll cry at least once, and you're just going to be lost in that film well after it's done rolling. Also, Alien is runner up, but to slip one in to send up to my Italian forebears, Dario Argento's Tenebrae. It's a wonderful mystery thriller, but as a giallo, it's probably one of the most violent, and it still works. Terrifying stuff. Love it to bits. Love that. Love Suspiria. Argento's one of my main men.
Man, you're just an encyclopedia of movies. It's wonderful. Swift Sword Rush for $2.
It's the source of my power.
Also being 21, that'll fade with time. Horror is my favorite. Horror for the win. Yes, Swift Sword Rush. Absolutely.
Right. He's doing it right.
There we go.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones in the chat. Armor of Darkness, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, Dagon, 70s body snatchers.
Yeah, there's there's so many things. I like horror as a genre because it's you get so many different kinds of things. You get really wacky, fun horror movies like Dog Soldiers, and then you get the creature features The Thing. I mean, it's such a broad genre for me that it's you could do all sorts of different random stuff.
And the thing I also love
horror
about
is one of the few genres that can pull that off too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the nice thing about horror too is that once you hit the exact ratio of suspense and gore, you can make a film that will scare the fucking bejesus out of an entire room. The Omen is a great example. Every one of those kills is terrifying to watch.
True.
There we go.
It's true.
The Eldritch Sun baby. I'd never thought about that.
Can't argue with it. Everyone's favorite sky demon, ladies and gentlemen. But also another feather in the cap for film music. Jerry Goldsmith's score for The Omen is half of that film's power.
True.
Speaking of The Omen.
The Omen trilogy. Yeah, and every score Goldsmith wrote for those films. Wonderful. Mwah.
Oh, man.
Everybody got to questions.
I think we did. We caught up to the questions. There's no more questions.
I saw one other. There were two others. I know we're coming up on time.
Oh, favorite
There's
adventure film.
radio
Yes.
We don't have a time. It's Friday night.
Well, I know,
You and
but
your
I'm just saying.
times.
I have a
Yeah.
time.
I was gonna say some of us do have bedtimes. We have to. We're not young and spry
you
anymore.
guys go to bed, and I'll be up with our guest for another 3 hours. It's fine.
I highly doubt that.
Oh no,
But-
because I got sent this package like 3 days ago, and I haven't had one. And obviously,
Oh man,
cigar
you gotta
stream,
fire one up
like,
at 11 o'clock at night.
he's
My
craving.
Fuck yeah, I am.
He's craving.
God. Oh man,
Dude, I haven't had a cigar in like 3 years. And our good friend Rob Rhymes,
as a treat.
and our good friend Rob Rhymes apparently put together some of his top tier stuff to send me a care package. So
that's big of them.
Oh, dude,
Rob's a good man.
Rob's good. He was drunk as dude, he flat out told me, he goes, dude, I don't remember the last 30 minutes of the stream. We were awake for 2 hours after the stream ended. He and I drank, and he smoked cigars and drank whiskey, and I smoked cigarettes and drank beer for like 2 hours. These guys jumped out after like 30 minutes of being off a stream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, we were up till like 1:32 in the morning. He was
now you're talking, dude, dog. Now you're talking my all-nighter hours because I got.
Dude.
Let me tell you a productivity story, and then we can get to the favorite adventure film question. So I'm sitting there. It's 6 p.m. It's Friday night, and I'm like, hey, I want to work on some stuff, but I don't have the energy. We still got some coffee I can go reheat. I have one reheated cup of coffee, and I'm up until 6 a.m. I've written a 6-minute overture. I've written like 16 pages of script. And I'm like bouncing off the walls. And I'm like, when the hell did reheated coffee become my fucking fuel?
Oh, that happens. That's not even. Yeah, no, that's a thing. Any creative person out there, and I'm less of a creative now. I don't write music anymore, although the itch is always there, but I don't have fucking time because apparently my YouTube channel had to start growing. Fuck. Yeah, wouldn't have called that one in the cards, but no. And no, everybody. I used to have and I think every creative has this, the magic hour, right? Mine is 2 o'clock in the morning. Still is to this day. But mine used to be so bad it would wake me up out of a dead sleep. And I kept writing material next to the bed, and I would have my phone, and I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and I'd reach over and I'd grab the pen and the paper and I'd start writing lyric ideas, and then I'd grab my phone and I'd have like an idea for like a tune, like I'll just like the I'll give you one I thought of for this channel a long time ago, but I'd like wake up and I'd be like, okay, so I wrote the lyrics down. Now what's the tune? The tune would be like da 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 da, and I'm like singing this at like 2 a.m. into my phone, and my wife is like, baby, what are you doing good about it? I'm like, baby, it's a song idea. And she's like, fuck off, and then she just grabbed her pillow and
Dude, I get that though, because when the inspiration strikes, you can't stop it. I mean, I've done passes on gunning where I was writing till like 3 a.m. I think I'd finished my second or third draft at like 3 or 4 in the morning, because once I started, I just didn't stop. And I mean, I exercised some shit from it later on, but it's like, oh my. All right, everyone, let's stop. Like, no. My lasting legacy, bringing down the house on Crazy's channel.
Bringing down the house. Oh, God. So, if we don't have any more questions from the chat, which we will because I just said that, but why don't we start saying our goodbyes for the evening? To the chat, at the very least, because sometimes we do an after show, sometimes we don't. But it's all up to you guys.
All right.
But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you all for being here for Iron Age Nights number 5. I never thought there was going to be an Iron Age Nights number 1. And now we're here at 5, which is so absolutely fantastic. We have fantastic people down in the chat. We have fantastic guests still.
And
guys,
also stay based. My favorite adventure film, The Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Flynn.
Ooh. My favorite adventure film. Does The Mummy 1999 count?
Hey, look, another Jerry Goldsmith score in the bag.
Yeah, fucking love The Mummy. God, I love that movie. Brendan Fraser was one of my favorites.
Oh,
just a yeah, I think that counts. I think that's a good one. It's a fun.
I gotta give props for the Errol Flynn call out because there's
that and Seawolf are terrific.
Favorite adventure film for me, Goonies. Never Say Die.
Ooh. I'm gonna get shit for this. I might. Do I take it back? No, because I don't think it's an adventure film. Never mind.
Well, I mean,
do you guys remember it was late 90s or early 2000s? It was a movie called The Musketeer, and it was the story of D'Artagnan, the fourth Musketeer.
I think so. Yeah.
I
think so. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I think we talked about it on one of the other streams.
But anyway, gentlemen, it is time to say our goodnights to the chat. Unless they keep asking us questions. Oh, damn it, Toxic. You did that on purpose. When are you getting Razor Fist on? You got Shad on before. What's holding you up?
Oh my! Any day now, I'm sure.
Do I just need to cold message him on Twitter and be like,
yes.
"Hey"?
I was actually going to ask you about that, but I was.
No, guys, I have not messaged Razor Fist.
You should.
I'm just gonna cold message him on Twitter and be like, "Hey, dude." I
would say because I usually am watching some of his Friday streams and everything. And what I've gathered from him is honestly, you just got to come right forward and be like, hey, would you be willing to do this? That's what I've generally gotten from it. And he's made appearances on all sorts of things.
Oh, I know. I know he has. I know he has. And I don't know. I'm a little bit gun shy on it because people gotta understand something is, although on my channel here in my lovely little home world, I can be as arrogant, narcissistic as I want to be. It's fucking fantastic. However, I am somewhat of a humble guy. And also, it's a little bit nervous to be like, hey, you want to come over and hang out at my house? It's cool. My mom makes awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We'll talk after. What was the old Homestar Runner joke? Chicken in a pan. For the worst sleepover ever.
Hi, Tim Allen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I remember that one.
Hey.
Oh God. And this is what the chat turns into.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yes, bait him. Obviously,
no false advertising.
Oh,
I do have
God.
a war story.
All right, Jake, what do you got to plug, man? Plug it quick, plug it hard, and plug it true.
What I gotta plug is, of course, the project I was on here for, 365 Infantry. You can find it at 365infantry.substack.com. Again, the main promise of the series is that all 5 branches will remain free, but we've got a lot of killer exclusives waiting for you guys out on the wastelands. You can also find us on, as I try to get all the links up and running as fast as my hands can carry me. All right. You can also find us on Twitter at 365infantry. That's just the handle straight up. And you can also find me, myself, and I, that being Jake Kelta, on Twitter at StageScreen60. and I have a lot of shit you'll be seeing in the coming year. That's all I promise for now.
All right, Richard.
Well, I have the same slate as always. I didn't mention it before now, as I feel a little bit bad, but we are closing out voting on the October prompts. So there were 25 short stories from. Is anybody else hearing that?
Yeah, there's some feedback loop happening.
Yeah, what is that?
Someone's Echoplex was left
that me?
on.
I don't know.
I blame Royce.
Man, I don't know what happened there.
You should. I know exactly what happened.
I saw his face and I went, "Yep."
Richard is secretly being recorded off of a wax cylinder.
I was going to say, is anybody else hearing this?
I promise you, it's not his fault. That was my bad.
Okay, sorry.
I touched a button and turns out you shouldn't touch buttons when you're doing outros. So bad.
Okay,
He's trying to turn Richard into a techno track.
Yeah, I was gonna say anyway, I felt like I was going crazy there for a second, but anyway, no, but we have our October prompt voting. It ends tomorrow at midnight. So if you have read any of the short stories over from October that were submitted as part of the IronAge.media weekly prompts, I encourage you to go over there and vote for your favorites, even if you haven't read absolutely every single one of them. But I always encourage everybody to give them a skim. And if they grab you, give them a read. Lots of good stories over there. And
especially mine.
Yes, especially Daniel's.
Which one? The last one I think it was.
I'm man. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of. I'm a little bit sad, but was it the Grave Temptation? Was that the last one?
Chroniclers and Grave Temptation. Yeah, the presents.
Yes. That was for the presents. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyed that. There's several fantastic stories on there. I don't want to tip the scales any more than Daniel already just tipped them. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. I'll be posting more about stuff that I'll be doing through locals this coming week. You can follow me on Twitter at IronAge Media, and as always, go to the website ironage.media and have new articles, and I'll be keeping news updated there.
And your YouTube channel.
Yes, and I have a YouTube channel that I'm not very effective at shilling. Yes, weekly review is all I'm doing currently, but I'll be doing a little bit more.
Send me the link.
I think I sent it to you. We'll just do that next week. Don't worry about that.
You could also post it in the chat.
I could. Hold on.
Well, technically you can't now, but if you comment in the chat, I'll make you a mod. So. Daniel P. Riley, what do you got going on?
Still working on the Tales of Halcyon Reforged. So right now that's taking up all my time. So I have nothing new, just the usual. My Neo Samurai Showdown, Jisadai, available anywhere books are sold and Amazon. And my superhero novel, Legacy of Heroes, also same thing, the usual stuff. I'm hoping that I can get the Reforged done by Christmas, but it's probably going to be January, if I'm being realistic. As always, anybody can find me at Mr. DP Riley on Twitter and whimsyland.org if you're interested in bending my ear and breaking my brain with your ideas. I can help you try to turn them into something that you can actually write out.
There you go. Fantastic. Awesome. As always, guys, you can find me here over on YouTube, doing a drink with Crazy, drinking beer, having fun, making friends. Apparently, my wife is like, "Oh, look, you have friends." I'm like, "Shut up, babe." But supposedly, that's what I'm doing.
After the Kodamas, I might actually be more friends with her than you.
Probably. Oh, dude, my wife is wildly more popular than I am, but she is also a big titty goth girl, so that makes sense. There's at least 2 reasons my wife is more popular. Anyway, I digress. And so, with that being said, thank you all so much for being here. I think, and I say I think, probably going to do a stream tomorrow night going over the Rippaverse cards and reading all that stuff and having a spoiler conversation for all the ISOM Rippaverse fans out there tomorrow night on the channel. And then Sunday, as always, I do Sunday Coffee, which is my weekly coffee stream where we drink coffee and I read all of the comments that have come in on my videos and live streams. Obviously, after my live streams are no longer live, there's comments afterwards. And I make sure that if you guys dedicated some of your time to me in the last week, I make sure to dedicate my time to you guys as well. Because, well, if it weren't for you guys, this channel wouldn't be where it is now.
True.
So thank you all so much. And gentlemen, hang out for just a moment. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine.
Absolutely.
It's fine. It's fine.
The best part of the night.
And remember, we're not supposed to talk over this, right?
I don't know. Do we talk over this? I don't remember.
All I have to say, artist, I want a picture of Royce on a hill with a sun beam coming down at him.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. No, what with the sun? But what weapon do I hold? Like, because it could be a really cool scythe, or also like
going for a Grim Reaper look.
Well, somebody also said an FN Scar too, and I'm totally down for that because the FN Scars are. I kind of like the Scar Heavy.
There we go.
You could have like a BFG on your shoulder.
Right? I could do that. Oh, dude, I'm so down to do that. I would do that. It'd be great.
Make it happen, people.
Right? Oh, it'd be great. Good night, chat.
Good
Ram
night.
says good night, Mexicans. What the fuck? I'm not Mexican. Did we tell them what? Yeah, we know we're live. Draw Royce wielding a war Moby huge. What?
What now?
He probably. I don't know.
That's either drunk writing or speech to text or something.
Oh, it's my chat. So
No, I will tell you after the stream.
Oh, I see.
Oh God. It's one of those. The Toxic Crusader says, "Good night, drunk bastards." I'm not drunk. Not yet.
Good night.
About to see what the cigar.
Oh no, I forgot to ask Jake what he was drinking.
Oh shit! I forgot to ask what any of you were drinking.
I was drinking coffee.
I drank coffee before the show.
I drank coffee, past tense.
Drink.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good night.